Tonight, we're going to step quietly into the world of a medieval farmer and spend an ordinary day in a place that, at first glance, may seem very distant from our own. As you settle in and allow your thoughts to slow, imagine a landscape without electric lights, without highways, without the constant hum of machines. Imagine a countryside shaped by seasons, sunlight, rainfall, and the steady rhythm of human hands working the earth. Our journey takes us back many centuries into medieval Europe, where most people lived not in castles or great cities, but in small farming villages scattered across rolling fields and winding dirt paths. The stories that often survive from the Middle Ages tend to focus on kings, queens, knights, and battles, yet the vast majority of people were farmers. Their names were rarely written down. Their voices seldom appear in chronicles. Their lives unfolded quietly, one season after another, beneath open skies. Tonight, we will leave behind the halls of nobles and the noise of famous events. Instead, we will spend time with an ordinary farming family. We will walk beside them from the earliest moments before dawn until the darkness of night settles over the village. As we do, you may notice how different their world feels. And yet, in certain ways, how familiar it remains. The air is cool. A faint mist hangs above the fields. The stars still linger overhead as the village sleeps. No clock announces the hour. No alarm sounds beside a bed. Instead, time is measured through nature itself. The position of the moon. The changing color of the sky. The songs of birds greeting the coming day. In a modest timber house, with walls made from woven branches covered in clay, a farmer begins to stir. The house is small by modern standards. Its floor is packed earth. Its windows are narrow openings designed more for protection than comfort. During colder months, shutters help keep out the wind. During warmer seasons, they allow a little fresh air to enter. The farmer sleeps on a simple mattress stuffed with straw. Nearby, family members rest beneath wool blankets. The room is dark. Only the faintest traces of pre-dawn light filter through the openings in the walls. For a few moments, everything remains still. Then comes movement. A quiet shift beneath a blanket. The creak of wood. The soft rustle of fabric. Another day has begun. For medieval farmers, work rarely waited. The land demanded attention throughout the year. Animals needed care. Tools required maintenance. Fields required preparation. Crops required harvesting. Every season brought its own responsibilities. Unlike many modern jobs, farming could not simply pause. Nature followed its own schedule. And so the farmer rises. The morning air feels cold against the skin. A wool tunic is pulled on. Simple leather shoes wait nearby. Nothing is elaborate. Most clothing is practical, durable, and designed to last as long as possible. Fabric requires tremendous effort to produce. Wool must be sheared, cleaned, spun, woven, and sewn. Every garment represents many hours of labor. Outside, darkness still covers much of the village. A few distant lights flicker from hearth fires being stirred back to life. Thin trails of smoke drift upward. The scent of damp earth mixes with wood smoke. Somewhere nearby, a rooster announces the approaching dawn. Soon another answers. Then another. Gradually, the village awakens. The farmer steps outside. The sky above is beginning to soften from black to deep blue. Morning dew covers the grass. Tiny droplets cling to leaves and fence posts. The world feels quiet and unhurried. In the distance, stand open fields divided into long strips cultivated by different families. Beyond them lie woodlands that provide fuel, building materials, wild foods, and occasional hunting opportunities. These landscapes shape everyday existence. They provide survival. They also create endless work. The farmer's first responsibility is often the animals. Even before breakfast, livestock require attention. A cow waits to be milked. Chickens scratch near a fence. Perhaps a pig rests in a small enclosure. Depending on the region and the family's resources, there may also be sheep, goats, or working oxen. Each animal plays an important role. The cow provides milk. The chickens provide eggs. The sheep provide wool. The oxen help pull plows through heavy soil. To modern observers, these tasks may seem routine. But in medieval life, livestock represented security. A healthy animal could mean food through winter. A lost animal could create serious hardship. As dawn slowly brightens the landscape, the farmer moves through familiar routines practiced countless times before. Hands work almost automatically. Buckets are carried. Gates are opened. Feed is distributed. Water is checked. The day unfolds according to patterns learned over generations. Knowledge passes from parents to children not through textbooks, but through observation and experience. A child learns when to plant by watching adults. A child learns how to care for animals by helping with daily chores. Practical knowledge becomes woven into everyday life. As sunlight begins touching the horizon, the farmer finally returns indoors. Breakfast is simple. Very simple. Many medieval meals would seem repetitive to modern tastes. Bread often forms the foundation of the diet. Depending on location, this bread may be made from rye, barley, oats, or wheat. Alongside it might be porridge, cheese, or leftover vegetables. Fresh fruit appears when available. Preserved foods help sustain families through colder months. Nothing is wasted. Food requires too much effort to obtain. Each loaf of bread represents months of agricultural labor. Each bowl of grain reflects countless hours spent planting, tending, harvesting, threshing, and grinding. As family members gather around the meal, conversation remains practical. Weather matters. Weather always matters. A cloudy sky raises questions. Recent rainfall sparks discussion. Strong winds may affect future plans. Agricultural success depends heavily upon conditions beyond human control. Even the most skilled farmer cannot command the weather. And so careful observation becomes essential. The family studies clouds. They watch birds. They note changes in temperature. The natural world provides clues about what may come next. Breakfast ends. Work awaits. The sun now rises fully above the horizon, casting golden light across fields still sparkling with dew. For many medieval farmers, this marks the true beginning of the working day. And it is here, as the village fully awakens and the fields call people toward another long day of labor, that our journey into the heart of medieval farming life truly begins. The farmer steps onto the narrow path leading away from the house and toward the fields. The morning sun remains low in the sky, stretching long shadows across the countryside. A gentle chill still lingers in the air, though everyone knows it will gradually disappear as the day progresses. Around him, other villagers emerge from their homes. There is no rush, no crowded streets, no ringing bells announcing work shifts. Yet nearly everyone moves with quiet purpose. The growing season leaves little room for idleness. The village itself is small, a cluster of timber buildings gathered around a simple church. Smoke drifts from chimneys. Dogs wander between houses. Children carry buckets larger than their arms seem able to manage. Older villagers begin tasks that have become familiar through decades of repetition. Every person contributes in some way. Life here is deeply interconnected. No family survives entirely alone. Neighbors depend upon one another during planting and harvest. Tools are shared. Animals are borrowed. Advice is exchanged. During difficult years, cooperation can mean the difference between endurance and disaster. The farmer reaches his strip of land. To modern eyes, the arrangement might appear unusual. Rather than owning one large, uninterrupted field, many medieval farmers cultivate several narrow strips scattered across larger communal fields. This system developed over generations. Each household receives access to land of varying quality. Some strips contain rich soil. Others are less productive. By spreading them throughout the landscape, opportunities and risks are shared more evenly among villagers. The earth beneath his feet feels slightly damp from the night's moisture. He kneels briefly and lets a handful of soil pass through his fingers. The texture reveals much. Good farmers become excellent observers. They learn to notice subtle differences. A patch that retains water too long. A section that dries quickly. A corner where weeds consistently return. These details matter. Over time, they influence harvests and determine how families eat during the winter months. Nearby stand the village oxen. Large, powerful, patient. Their strength makes cultivation possible. Without them, turning heavy soil would require enormous human effort. The animals are fitted with harnesses crafted from leather and wood. The process takes time. Nothing about medieval farming is hurried. Tasks must be done correctly. Mistakes waste energy. Broken equipment is costly. Repairs require materials and labor. Soon the farmer begins plowing. The wooden plow cuts into the earth. Its blade turns the soil. Fresh earth rises from below, darker than the surface layer. The scent is rich and unmistakable. A smell associated with planting, growth, and hope. Back and forth, the oxen move. Step after steady step. The work is repetitive. Almost rhythmic. The creak of leather. The scrape of wood. The soft thud of hooves. Birds circle overhead, searching for insects exposed by the newly turned soil. The farmer guides the animals carefully. Even a slight deviation can create uneven furrows. Hours pass in this manner. There are no engines, no machines reducing physical effort. Human muscles and animal power drive nearly every activity. The pace feels slow, yet enormous amounts of work are accomplished through persistence. One furrow becomes another, then another, then another. Across medieval Europe, countless fields are shaped by the same repetitive motions. Generation after generation performs similar tasks. Parents teach children. Children become adults. Adults teach the next generation. Knowledge flows forward like a quiet stream. As the morning advances, sunlight grows warmer. The village begins to buzz with activity. Women work in gardens. Children gather firewood. Older residents repair fences, mend clothing, and perform countless smaller tasks necessary for daily life. A medieval household functions almost like a small economic unit. Much of what is needed must be produced locally. Clothing, food, fuel, tools, baskets, rope, soap. Every item requires labor. Very little arrives from distant places. This reality shapes how people think about possessions. Objects are valued. maintained carefully, repaired repeatedly. A broken tool is rarely discarded. Instead, it is fixed, used again, then fixed once more. The farmer pauses briefly to wipe sweat from his forehead. Although the day remains pleasant, physical labor generates its own warmth. Nearby, another farmer works a neighboring strip. The two exchange a few words. Perhaps they discuss weather. Perhaps crop conditions. Perhaps village news. Conversations tend to remain practical. The demands of survival keep people focused on immediate concerns. Still, companionship matters. Long hours become easier when shared. The sense of community runs deep. Many villagers have known one another their entire lives. Families have lived beside one another for generations. Births, marriages, hardships, and celebrations connect them through countless memories. As the sun climbs higher, attention shifts toward planting. Depending upon the season, seeds may be carefully scattered across prepared soil. This task requires experience. Too few seeds waste valuable land. Too many create overcrowding. The farmer walks steadily across the field. His hand moves in practiced motions. Each sweep distributes grain across the earth. At first glance, the action appears simple. Yet it reflects years of observation. The farmer understands how crops grow. He understands local conditions. He understands what has worked before and what has failed. Agriculture in the medieval world depends heavily upon accumulated wisdom. There are no agricultural colleges, no scientific journals, no weather forecasts. Instead, knowledge develops through experience shared across generations. Every successful harvest teaches lessons. Every failure teaches lessons too. The seeds disappear into the soil. Weeks later, they may emerge as fragile green shoots. Months later, they may become the harvest that sustains a family through winter. For now, however, everything depends upon patience. Much of farming involves waiting. Waiting for rain. Waiting for warmth. Waiting for growth. Waiting for harvest. Nature sets the timetable. Human beings can only work within it. As midday approaches, the countryside grows brighter. The cool freshness of dawn has vanished. Insects hum among grasses. Birdsong fills hedgerows. A light breeze moves across the fields. The farmer's stomach reminds him that breakfast occurred many hours ago. Work pauses temporarily. Tools are set aside. Animals rest. Families gather beneath trees, near hedges, or beside field boundaries. Midday meals remain modest. Perhaps coarse bread, a wedge of cheese, onions, beans, ale diluted with water, sometimes smoked fish, sometimes seasonal fruit. The meal is practical rather than luxurious. Its purpose is to provide energy for the afternoon ahead. As people eat, conversations become more relaxed. Stories circulate. News spreads. Someone mentions a traveler seen on a nearby road. Another discusses preparations for an upcoming religious feast day. A third wonders whether rainfall will arrive before week's end. The wider world occasionally reaches the village through merchants, pilgrims, wandering craftsmen, and travelers. Yet information moves slowly. A major event occurring dozens of miles away may take days or weeks to become known. Many villagers spend most of their lives within a relatively small geographic area. The local landscape becomes their universe. Fields, forests, streams, neighboring villages, churches, roads, These places form the framework of daily existence. After eating, some rest briefly. The shade feels pleasant. Birds sing overhead. The afternoon stretches ahead. Yet breaks remain short. Too much work remains unfinished. The farmer rises once again. The tools await. The fields await. And beneath the warm medieval sun, another long chapter of the working day begins. This afternoon will bring new tasks, different challenges, and a closer look at the countless forms of labor required to sustain life in a medieval farming village. The afternoon settles gently across the countryside. The sun now hangs high above the fields, bathing the landscape in a warm and steady light. Shadows have shortened. The cool dampness of morning exists only as a memory. For the farmer, however, the work continues much as before. There are seasons when plowing dominates the day. There are seasons when planting demands every available hour. And there are seasons when countless smaller tasks compete for attention all at once. A medieval farm is rarely focused on a single activity. Instead, responsibilities overlap continuously. Fences require repair. Animals require supervision. Tools require maintenance. Gardens require tending. Storage areas require inspection. Every corner of daily life presents another job waiting to be completed. The farmer walks toward a section of fencing near the edge of a pasture. Wood weathers over time. Rain weakens posts. Animals push against barriers. Strong winds occasionally cause damage. Maintaining fences is an endless responsibility. A broken section may allow livestock to wander. An escaped animal can destroy crops within hours. The consequences of neglect are often severe. The farmer examines each post carefully. Some appear strong. Others show signs of age. A replacement will soon be necessary. With simple tools and practiced movements, repairs begin. Wood is trimmed. Rope is tightened. Loose sections are secured. The process lacks excitement. Yet such work forms the foundation of survival. Many aspects of medieval life are built upon countless ordinary tasks that rarely appear in history books. Kings sign treaties. Armies march. Castles rise. But behind every great event stand thousands of anonymous workers maintaining fields, roads, buildings, and livestock. The farmer belongs to this vast majority. His labor may never be recorded, yet it helps sustain an entire society. Nearby, sheep graze quietly. Their wool represents one of the most valuable resources available to many rural communities. Long before cloth reaches a market, enormous effort is invested in its production. Animals must be raised. Wool must be collected. Fibers must be cleaned. Threads must be spun. Fabric must be woven. Garments must be sewn. What appears simple often hides countless hours of labor. The farmer pauses to observe the animals. A healthy flock provides reassurance. Illness among livestock can spread quickly. Experience teaches farmers to notice subtle changes. An animal that moves differently. A sheep that separates itself from the group. A cow that eats less than usual. Small observations can prevent larger problems. Such awareness develops over many years. The land teaches patience. The animals teach patience. Life itself teaches patience. As the afternoon continues, the farmer moves toward the household garden. Though grain fields often receive the most attention, gardens play a crucial role in daily nutrition. Here grow vegetables that supplement the family diet throughout much of the year. cabbages, leeks, onions, beans, peas, herbs. The exact varieties differ depending on region and climate, but gardens frequently provide essential diversity beyond the staple grains. Rows of green plants stretch beneath the sunlight. Some require weeding. Others require watering. The farmer bends repeatedly, removing unwanted growth. The work is slow, quiet, almost meditative. Birdsong drifts through the air. Insects buzz among leaves. A breeze gently stirs the taller plants. The natural world surrounds every aspect of existence. Unlike modern indoor occupations, medieval farming keeps people constantly exposed to changing conditions. The sky matters. The wind matters. Rain matters. Temperature matters. Every day unfolds within nature rather than apart from it. Clouds begin drifting across the horizon. The farmer notices them immediately. Farmers always notice the sky. Generations of experience have trained them to pay attention. The shape of clouds, the direction of wind, the color of the evening horizon. Such details may hint at tomorrow's weather. Although predictions remain uncertain, observation provides valuable clues. A coming storm may require preparation. Freshly cut hay may need protection. Animals may need shelter. Timing often determines success. The ability to read nature becomes one of the farmer's most valuable skills. A little distance away, children work alongside adults. Medieval childhood differs greatly from modern expectations. Young people often begin helping with household responsibilities at an early age. Their tasks are usually smaller and suited to their abilities. Gathering eggs, watching geese, collecting firewood, carrying water, helping in gardens. Over time, responsibilities gradually increase. Learning occurs through participation. Children observe. They imitate. They practice. Knowledge passes naturally from one generation to the next. Formal schooling remains rare in many rural communities. Practical experience serves as the primary teacher. A young boy learns how to handle livestock by accompanying his father. A young girl learns household skills by assisting older family members. These lessons unfold day after day, year after year. The rhythm of village life becomes deeply familiar. The afternoon sunlight begins its slow journey westward. Though many hours of daylight remain, subtle changes appear. The quality of light softens slightly. Bird activity shifts. The temperature becomes more comfortable. The farmer turns attention toward another important responsibility, gathering fuel. Fire serves countless purposes. It provides warmth. It cooks food. It supplies light after sunset. Without a reliable source of fuel, daily life becomes significantly more difficult. Wood remains one of the most valuable resources in many medieval communities. Nearby forests serve as important sources of timber and firewood. Yet gathering wood requires effort. The farmer follows a narrow path leading toward the edge of a woodland. Trees provide welcome shade. The air feels cooler beneath their branches. Leaves rustle softly overhead. Sunlight filters through gaps in the canopy, creating shifting patterns upon the ground. The forest possesses its own atmosphere, its own sounds, its own rhythms. Birds call from hidden perches. Small animals move through undergrowth. Branches creak gently in the breeze. To modern ears accustomed to engines and electronics, the quiet might seem remarkable. Natural sounds dominate the environment. The farmer searches for fallen branches and suitable wood. Not every piece is useful. Some are too damp. Others are too small. Experience helps identify what will burn efficiently. Bundles gradually accumulate. Each armload represents future warmth and future meals. Nothing is gathered carelessly. Resources remain precious. The forest provides many things beyond wood. Wild berries may appear during certain seasons. Medicinal plants grow among the undergrowth. Nuts can supplement the diet. Occasionally, small game animals provide additional food. Although farming forms the center of rural life, the surrounding landscape contributes in many important ways. The relationship between villagers and their environment is intimate. They understand local streams, local forests, local hills, local weather patterns. Their knowledge develops through lifelong observation. As the farmer returns from the woodland carrying fuel, the village once again comes into view. Smoke rises lazily from chimneys. Animals move through pastures. Voices drift across open spaces. The scene appears peaceful. Yet beneath that calm surface lies constant labor. Every visible structure, every field, every fence, every path represents years of human effort. Nothing exists without maintenance. Nothing remains productive without care. The medieval village functions because hundreds of small tasks are completed day after day. The farmer's work this afternoon may seem ordinary, and in many ways it is. But ordinary work sustains extraordinary continuity. Through harvests and winters, through good years and difficult ones, through generations that come and go. As the sun slowly descends toward the horizon, another part of the day approaches. The intensity of labor begins to ease. Attention gradually shifts from fieldwork toward evening responsibilities. Animals must be secured. Meals must be prepared. Families will soon gather once again beneath their roofs. And as golden light spreads across the countryside, the medieval village enters the quieter hours that arrive before nightfall. The afternoon gradually softens into evening. Across the village, the angle of sunlight begins to change. Golden rays stretch across the fields, touching the tops of grasses and turning ordinary patches of earth into scenes of quiet beauty. The most demanding work of the day is nearing its end. Not because every task has been completed. There are always more tasks. There are always repairs to make, weeds to pull, tools to sharpen, roofs to mend, and plans to consider. But daylight is a valuable resource, and people have learned to organize their efforts around its limits. The farmer pauses for a moment and looks across the landscape. From a slight rise in the ground, much of the surrounding countryside becomes visible. Long strips of cultivated land spread outward like pieces of a vast patchwork. Animals graze in enclosed areas. Thin dirt paths connect homes, fields, and neighboring settlements. Farther away, forests appear as dark green masses along the horizon. Above everything stretches a broad sky slowly changing color as evening approaches. This view is deeply familiar. The farmer has seen it thousands of times. Yet familiarity does not remove its importance. The land is not simply scenery. It is livelihood. It is food. It is security. It is inheritance. Many families have worked the same plots for generations. Children grow up recognizing every hill, every stream, every field boundary. The landscape becomes part of personal identity. As shadows lengthen, attention turns toward livestock once again. Animals that spent much of the day grazing now require evening care. The farmer walks toward the pasture. The sheep remain calm. The cattle move slowly through the grass. A few animals raise their heads as he approaches. Others continue feeding without concern. The routine is well established. Humans and animals have spent years learning one another's patterns. The farmer begins getting them toward shelter. The pace is unhurried. No one wishes to stress valuable livestock. A frightened animal can injure itself. A panicked herd can damage fences. Patience remains one of the most useful qualities a farmer can possess. The sounds of evening drift through the air. Birds begin singing their final songs of the day. Insects produce a constant background hum. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barks. The village feels alive, yet calmer than it did during the busy hours of morning and midday. As the animals are secured, the farmer carefully checks each one. A small injury discovered early may be treated. A loose fence identified tonight can be repaired tomorrow. Attention to detail helps prevent future problems. Many aspects of medieval survival depend upon noticing small things before they become larger difficulties. Once the livestock are settled, another familiar task awaits. Water. Every household requires it. Every animal requires it. Every meal depends upon it. Yet obtaining water is often far more labor-intensive than modern people imagine. There are no kitchen faucets, no underground systems carrying water directly into homes. Instead, water must be collected, transporting, stored, used carefully. The farmer joins family members making their way toward the village well. In some communities, streams provide access to fresh water. In others, wells serve as the primary source. Either way, gathering water remains part of daily life. The path is familiar, worn smooth by countless footsteps. Generations have walked this same route carrying buckets, barrels, and containers. At the well, several villagers exchange greetings. The atmosphere feels relaxed. The day's most strenuous labor is behind them. People talk quietly while waiting their turn. News spreads naturally in these moments. Someone mentions an upcoming feast day. Another discusses repairs being made to a nearby bridge. A traveler passing through the region becomes a topic of conversation. These small exchanges help strengthen community ties. In a world without newspapers, radios, or telephones, information often travels through conversations like these. Stories move from person to person. News spreads gradually. Community memory develops through repeated sharing. The farmer lowers a bucket. The rope slides steadily downward. Moments later comes the faint sound of water. Then the weight increases. The bucket rises once more. Fresh water catches the evening light. The task has been performed countless times before. It will be performed countless times again. Many aspects of medieval life are repetitive. Yet repetition creates rhythm. Rhythm creates stability. And stability provides comfort in an uncertain world. Returning home, the farmer notices changes in the sky. The brilliant blue of afternoon is fading. Soft oranges and golds appear near the horizon. Higher above, deeper shades begin to emerge. The transition happens gradually. So gradually that it often goes unnoticed until one suddenly realizes evening has arrived. Inside the home, preparations for supper are underway. The house remains simple. The walls are rough. The furnishings are limited. Yet after a long day outdoors, the familiar interior feels welcoming. A fire burns within the hearth. Its glow fills the room with warmth. The scent of cooking drifts through the air. Food preparation in the medieval world requires substantial effort. Even simple meals involve planning and labor. Ingredients must be grown, gathered, preserved, or traded for. Fuel must be collected. Water must be carried. Cooking vessels must be maintained. Every meal represents a chain of work extending back through days, weeks, and months. Tonight's supper may include coarse bread baked earlier. Perhaps vegetable stew. Perhaps beans. Perhaps a small amount of meat, if circumstances allow. Diet varies according to season, region, harvest conditions, and family resources. Most meals focus on practicality rather than variety. The goal is nourishment. The goal is sustaining energy for tomorrow's work. Family members gather together. The atmosphere is quieter than it was earlier in the day. Physical labor has left everyone tired. Yet there is satisfaction in completing necessary tasks. The farmer listens as children describe small events from their day. A chicken escaped its enclosure. A new bird's nest was discovered near the edge of the woods. An older neighbor shared a story while repairing a fence. Such details may seem insignificant, but they form the fabric of daily life. History is not only composed of great events. It is also composed of ordinary moments. Meals shared, stories told, work completed, laughter exchanged. These experiences rarely appear in written records. Yet they shape human existence just as profoundly as famous battles and royal decisions. As darkness deepens outside, the fire becomes the primary source of light. Its flames flicker against the walls. Shadows move gently across the room. The farmer settles onto a simple bench. For the first time all day, there is an opportunity to rest. True rest remains precious. The demands of agricultural life rarely disappear. Tomorrow will bring new responsibilities. The weather may change. Animals may require attention. Fields may need additional work. But for now, the day's labor is complete. Conversation continues softly. Sometimes stories are shared. Some are practical. Others involve local legends passed down through generations. The medieval world contains many beliefs that blend observation, tradition, religion, and folklore. Not every explanation comes from written knowledge. Many ideas are inherited through oral storytelling. Children listen carefully. Adults smile at familiar tales. The fire crackles quietly. Outside, night settles across the countryside. Stars begin appearing overhead. One by one at first, then in greater numbers. Without modern lighting, the night sky reveals itself with remarkable clarity. The farmer occasionally steps outside before sleep. The air feels cooler now. The village has grown quiet. Most animals have settled. Most neighbors have returned indoors. Above stretches a sky filled with countless stars. For medieval people, these stars are a familiar presence. They mark seasons. They inspire stories. They provide comfort through long nights. The farmer stands silently for a moment. The work of the day is finished. The fields rest beneath darkness. Tomorrow's concerns belong to tomorrow. And as the stars brighten over the sleeping village, another ordinary day in medieval life slowly comes to a close. Yet our journey through this world is only beginning. For tomorrow will reveal new challenges, changing seasons, and the many ways a farmer's life shifts throughout the year as nature itself transforms around them. The next morning arrives quietly. Long before the sun rises above the horizon, the village exists in a world of darkness and faint sounds. A distant owl calls from the edge of the woodland. Somewhere beyond the fields, a stream continues its steady journey through the countryside. Inside the farmer's home, the fire in the hearth has faded to glowing embers. The warmth remaining from the previous evening lingers gently in the room. Family members still sleep beneath wool blankets. For a brief time, the village feels suspended between yesterday and today. Then slowly, life begins again. The cycle never truly stops. One of the defining features of medieval farming is its repetition. Days differ from one another in countless small ways, yet the larger rhythm remains remarkably consistent. The land requires attention. The animals require care. The seasons continue their endless progression. And so another day begins. This morning, however, we will step back slightly from the events of a single day and explore something equally important. We will follow the changing seasons themselves. Because a medieval farmer does not experience the year as a collection of calendar dates. Instead, the year is understood through work, through weather, through growth, through harvest, through survival. Every season possesses its own personality, its own challenges, its own rewards. Spring arrives gradually. Rarely does it appear all at once. Instead, subtle signs emerge across the landscape. The days grow longer. The ground softens. Streams run higher with melting snow and seasonal rains. Birds return. Fresh green shoots begin pushing through the earth. For the farmer, spring brings a sense of cautious optimism. Winter's difficulties are ending. Yet spring itself demands enormous effort. Fields must be prepared. Fences repaired. Tools inspected. Seeds planted. Animals cared for during birthing season. Every available hour becomes valuable. The village awakens from winter's slower pace. Activity increases everywhere. The sound of hammers repairing structures becomes common. Wagons move along muddy roads. Farmers examine fields damaged by harsh weather. Children help gather branches brought down by winter storms. The countryside feels alive with renewal. Yet spring also carries uncertainty. Late frosts remain a threat. Heavy rains can delay planting. Flooding may damage valuable land. The farmer understands that hope and risk often arrive together. One year may bring excellent growing conditions. Another may bring disappointment. Nature remains unpredictable. This reality shapes medieval attitudes toward life. People learn to appreciate good years because they know difficult years will eventually come. As spring advances, planting dominates daily existence. Fields that appeared empty only weeks earlier become places of activity. Seeds disappear beneath freshly turned soil. Every handful scattered across a field represents faith in the future. The farmer cannot see what will happen beneath the earth. Growth remains hidden. Patience becomes essential. Weeks pass. Tiny green shoots appear. Gradually, the landscape transforms. What was once bare soil becomes living farmland. The village watches carefully. Farmers notice every change. A field growing strongly inspires confidence. A struggling field causes concern. The connection between people and crops is deeply personal. Success affects entire households. Failure affects them as well. Then comes summer. For many medieval farmers, summer represents one of the busiest periods of the year. The days become long, very long. Sunrise arrives early. Sunset comes late. The additional daylight creates opportunities for more work. And there is always more work to do. Fields require constant attention. Weeds compete with crops. Animals need water during periods of heat. Gardens expand rapidly. Repairs continue. Summer transforms the countryside. The colors deepen. Fields sway beneath warm winds. Wildflowers bloom along paths and field edges. Trees stand full with leaves. The air carries scents of grass, soil, and growing crops. To an observer, the landscape may appear peaceful. But beneath that beauty lies intense labor. Farmers work from early morning until evening. Every favorable day must be used wisely. Weather remains important, perhaps more important than ever. A prolonged drought can threaten crops. Excessive rain can create different problems. Storms may damage fields within hours. The farmer learns never to take favorable conditions for granted. Summer also brings haymaking. This task plays a critical role in preparing for winter. Animals will eventually need food when grass no longer grows. Hay provides that food. Fields designated for hay are cut carefully. The work is physically demanding. Grass must be harvested, turned, dried, collected, stored. Timing matters greatly. Rain arriving at the wrong moment can damage valuable supplies. Entire families often participate. Neighbors sometimes assist one another. The work becomes a communal effort. Across the countryside, fields fill with activity. People move steadily beneath the summer sun. Tools rise and fall. Voices carry across open spaces. The rhythm of agricultural life reaches its peak. And then, gradually, signs of change begin to appear. The days remain warm, but evenings arrive slightly earlier. Morning air feels cooler. Leaves lose a little of their deep summer color. Autumn approaches. For the medieval farmer, autumn is perhaps the most important season of all. Harvest time has arrived. Months of effort now face their ultimate test. The fields hold the results of countless hours of labor. Success, failure, or something in between. Harvest creates a unique atmosphere within farming communities. There is urgency, but there is also anticipation. Every dry day becomes precious. Every family focuses intensely upon gathering crops before weather conditions worsen. The village becomes extraordinarily busy. Men, women, and children work together. Fields fill with movement. Tools flash beneath sunlight. Wagons travel back and forth, carrying precious harvests. The farmer moves carefully through rows of grain. Each stalk represents food, security, possibility. The harvest determines how comfortably a family will live during the coming months. A strong harvest may provide surplus. A poor harvest may create hardship. This reality makes autumn emotionally significant. Relief accompanies successful yields. Anxiety accompanies disappointing ones. The stakes are high. Yet even during busy harvest periods, moments of beauty remain. Golden fields stretching toward the horizon. Cool breezes moving through grain. Sunsets glowing above busy workers. Nature continues offering scenes of remarkable tranquility. After harvest comes preparation. Winter is never far away. Food must be stored. Buildings must be inspected. Fuel supplies must be increased. Animals require planning and care. Every household begins looking ahead. The farmer understands that winter rewards preparation. Those who plan carefully often fare better when cold weather arrives. Those who neglect important tasks may face difficulties. Autumn, therefore, becomes a season of gathering. Gathering crops, gathering wood, gathering resources, gathering security for the months ahead. Eventually, the landscape changes once more. Leaves fall from trees. Fields become quieter. The air grows colder. And winter begins its slow arrival across the medieval countryside. The world that seemed so vibrant during summer now takes on a different character. A quieter character. A harsher character. Yet winter brings its own lessons, its own routines, and its own unique place within the farmer's endless relationship with the land. As snow clouds gather on distant horizons and cold winds begin moving across harvested fields, another chapter in the medieval year is about to unfold. Winter settles across the countryside with a patience that mirrors the seasons themselves. At first, the changes seem small. The mornings arrive colder. Frost appears on rooftops and fence posts. Thin sheets of ice form along the edges of ponds and streams. The farmer notices these details long before winter fully arrives. Years spent working the land have taught him how to recognize subtle transitions. Nature rarely changes all at once. Instead, it offers countless quiet signals. A colder wind from the north. Birds gathering in larger flocks. Trees standing bare against grey skies. Fields becoming still. The energy of summer and autumn gradually fades. For the medieval farmer, winter is not a season without work. Far from it. The nature of the work simply changes. The fields require less immediate attention. The crops have been harvested. The hay has been stored. The grain has been gathered. But many responsibilities remain. Inside homes and barns, activity continues. Tools need repair. Clothing requires mending. Wood must be chopped. Animals still require daily care. Food supplies must be managed carefully. Winter rewards discipline. Every stored resource becomes important. Every decision matters. The farmer rises one cold morning before dawn. Outside, a fresh layer of snow covers the village. The world appears transformed. Familiar paths are hidden beneath white drifts. Fences emerge only partially from the snow. Trees stand motionless beneath delicate coverings of frost. Even sounds seem different. Snow absorbs noise. The countryside feels quieter, softer, more distant. The farmer opens the door and pauses briefly. Cold air rushes inside. His breath becomes visible immediately. The sky overhead remains dark. Stars shine brightly in the clear winter air. For a moment, everything feels still. Then the responsibilities of the day return. Animals must be fed. They cannot graze beneath snow-covered fields. The hay gathered months earlier now proves its value. Every bundle stored during summer and autumn serves a purpose. The farmer carries armloads of hay toward the barn. The animals greet him with familiar sounds. A cow shifts patiently. Sheep move within their enclosure. The warmth generated by livestock creates a noticeable contrast to the cold outside. The farmer distributes feed carefully. Nothing can be wasted. Winter supplies must last until spring. Managing resources becomes a daily exercise in planning. Too much consumed early may create shortages later. Too little may weaken valuable animals. Experience guides every decision. As daylight gradually appears, the village awakens. Smoke rises from chimneys. Doors open. Footprints begin appearing across fresh snow. Life continues despite the cold. Perhaps because of the cold. Winter encourages people to work together. Neighbors check on one another. Families spend more time indoors. Communal bonds often strengthen during these quieter months. The long evenings create opportunities for activities that receive less attention during busy growing seasons. Clothing must be repaired. Tools sharpened. Ropes braided. Baskets woven. These tasks rarely receive the attention they deserve in popular depictions of medieval life. Yet they are essential. Every object used on the farm requires maintenance. A broken tool during planting season can create serious problems. Winter provides time for preparation. The farmer sits near the fire one evening, holding a wooden handle worn smooth by years of use. Carefully, he examines a farming tool. A crack has appeared. Not large, but large enough to cause concern. Repair now prevents failure later. The fire crackles nearby. Its warmth fills the room. Outside, wind moves across the frozen landscape. Inside, work continues. Children listen as older family members tell stories. Some stories involve local history. Others involve folklore. Many have been shared countless times before. Yet repetition does not diminish their value. These stories help preserve community memory. They connect generations. They teach lessons. They provide entertainment during long winter nights. The medieval world relies heavily upon oral tradition. Not everyone can read. Books are rare and expensive. Stories, therefore, become important carriers of knowledge. A grandmother remembers events from decades earlier. A father recounts lessons learned during difficult harvests. Children absorb information simply by listening. The passing of knowledge happens naturally. One evening after supper, the farmer steps outside once more. The snow reflects moonlight. The village appears almost silver. Above, the night sky stretches endlessly. Without artificial lighting, the stars seem astonishingly bright. Entire rivers of stars cross the heavens. Constellations appear sharp and clear. For medieval people, the sky is not merely decoration. It is part of everyday awareness. People observe it constantly. They notice seasonal changes. They recognize familiar patterns. They use the heavens to help understand the passage of time. The farmer stands quietly. The cold air bites gently at his face. Yet there is beauty in the stillness. Winter often reveals a different side of rural life. A slower side. A more reflective side. The constant urgency of planting and harvesting gives way to patience. Nature itself appears to rest. Fields sleep beneath frost. Trees wait for warmer days. Streams move more slowly beneath ice-covered edges. Everything seems suspended. And yet life continues beneath the surface. Seeds remain hidden beneath the soil. Animals endure the season. Families prepare for the future. The promise of spring remains alive even during the coldest months. As winter progresses, weather becomes increasingly important. A mild winter brings certain advantages. A harsh winter creates challenges. Heavy snowfall can make travel difficult. Extended cold can strain food supplies. Storms may damage buildings. The farmer learns to adapt. Adaptation is one of the defining skills of medieval life. People cannot control nature. They must respond to it. This reality shapes attitudes toward uncertainty. Flexibility becomes essential. Patience becomes essential. Resilience becomes essential. Weeks pass, then months. Gradually, almost imperceptibly, change begins again. The days lengthen. Sunrise arrives a little earlier. Sunset lingers a little longer. Snow melts along south-facing slopes. Water begins flowing more freely through streams. The cycle starts anew. Spring approaches, and with it comes another year of labor, hope, uncertainty, and opportunity. The medieval farmer understands this cycle deeply. It has shaped the lives of parents, grandparents, and generations stretching far into the past. The land rests. The land awakens. The land produces. The land rests again. Year after year. Century after century. This rhythm becomes the foundation of existence. Yet farming is only one part of life. Beyond the fields and seasons lies another equally important aspect of the medieval world. Family, community, relationships, the people who share daily struggles and celebrations, the bonds that transform a collection of houses into a village. And as winter slowly loosens its grip on the countryside, we will next explore the social world surrounding the medieval farmer, the friendships, obligations, traditions, and connections that shape everyday life beyond the fields themselves. As the seasons turn and another year begins to unfold, it becomes easier to understand that a medieval farmer never lives in isolation. Even when much of the day is spent working alone in a field, life remains deeply connected to other people. Family, neighbors, friends, religious leaders, craftsmen, travelers, landowners. Every individual exists within a network of relationships that shapes daily life in countless visible and invisible ways. To better understand the farmer's world, we must spend some time within the village itself, not merely as a collection of buildings, but as a living community, a place where people know one another's histories, where cooperation often determines survival, and where shared traditions help bring meaning to everyday life. Early one spring morning, the village awakens beneath clear skies. Smoke rises from dozens of chimneys. The familiar sounds of daily activity begin once again. Yet before work fully takes over the day, neighbors exchange greetings. A farmer walking toward the fields pauses briefly to speak with another. Children call to friends from nearby homes. An elderly villager sits outside a doorway, watching the morning unfold. These simple interactions may seem unremarkable, but they form the foundation of community life. In many medieval villages, people know one another extraordinarily well. Families often remain in the same area for generations. Everyone becomes familiar with local histories. Who married whom? Who inherited a particular strip of land? Who survived a difficult winter? Who possesses skill with animals? Who makes the strongest carts? The village functions almost like an extended family. Not always harmonious, not always free of disagreements, but deeply interconnected. The farmer's closest relationships are usually found within the household itself. Family forms the center of daily existence. Work is shared. Meals are shared. Responsibilities are shared. Successes and hardships affect everyone together. A typical household may include parents, children, and occasionally older relatives. In some cases, servants or laborers may also live with the family. The exact arrangement varies, yet cooperation remains essential. There is simply too much work for one person to accomplish alone. Every member contributes according to age and ability. A young child may gather eggs. An older child may help with planting. Adults handle more physically demanding tasks. Elderly family members often provide guidance, knowledge, and supervision. Everyone has a role. The farmer's wife, like countless women throughout medieval Europe, performs an enormous amount of labor. Modern depictions sometimes underestimate these contributions. In reality, women play vital roles in household economies. They manage food preparation, care for children, maintain gardens, process wool, produce clothing, help with agricultural work, care for livestock, preserve food for winter. The list seems almost endless. Daily life depends upon their efforts. The distinction between household work and farm work is often less rigid than modern people imagine. Both are essential. Both require skill. Both contribute directly to survival. As the day progresses, villagers encounter one another repeatedly. At the well, along pathways, near fields, inside workshops. Community interaction occurs naturally because life unfolds in shared spaces. Privacy, as many modern people understand it, is relatively limited. People know what is happening around them. News spreads quickly. Sometimes this creates support. Sometimes it creates gossip. Often it creates both. Imagine the farmer walking through the village one afternoon. As he passes a neighbor's house, he notices several people gathered outside. A roof repair is underway. Heavy beams must be lifted into position. The task requires more than one pair of hands. Without being formally asked, he joins the effort. Others do the same. Together, they raise the timber, adjust its placement, secure it properly. The work becomes easier because it is shared. Such cooperation appears repeatedly throughout village life, particularly during major agricultural activities. Harvest season offers one of the clearest examples. When crops reach maturity, time becomes precious. Weather may change suddenly. Rain may damage grain waiting in the fields. Families, therefore, help one another whenever possible. A successful harvest benefits the entire community. The stronger the village economy, the better everyone fares. This does not mean conflict disappears. Disagreements certainly occur. Arguments over land boundaries. Disputes involving livestock. Questions concerning shared resources. Human nature remains much the same across centuries. People cooperate. People compete. People misunderstand one another. Yet the realities of rural life encourage practical solutions. Maintaining relationships matters. Neighbors are difficult to replace. The village church occupies a central place within this social landscape. Its importance extends beyond religious worship. The church often serves as a gathering place, a source of information, a marker of important events. Baptisms, marriages, funerals, religious festivals, community announcements. Many significant moments pass through its doors. On a Sunday morning, villagers arrive wearing their best available clothing. The atmosphere differs noticeably from an ordinary workday. Families gather together. Friends exchange greetings. Conversations occur before and after services. The church provides opportunities for people from scattered farms and fields to come together regularly. For many villagers, these gatherings help reinforce a sense of belonging. Religion influences medieval life in countless ways, not only through formal ceremonies, but through daily habits, seasonal celebrations, ideas about morality, explanations of suffering and fortune. Faith often provides comfort during uncertain times. A poor harvest, an illness, a severe winter. Life contains many challenges beyond human control. Religious belief offers a framework for understanding them. Throughout the year, festivals bring variety to village life. These occasions interrupt ordinary routines. People gather, food is shared, stories are exchanged, music may be played, games may be enjoyed. For a brief period, the relentless demands of work become less dominant. One such celebration might occur after harvest. The crops are safely stored. The immediate pressure has passed. Relief spreads through the community. The farmer joins neighbors in a modest celebration. Laughter drifts across the village green. Children run between groups of adults. Musicians play familiar melodies. The atmosphere feels lighter, not because life has become easy, but because difficult work has been completed successfully. These moments matter. They create memories. They strengthen relationships. They remind people that life contains joy alongside responsibility. Travelers occasionally bring glimpses of the wider world. A merchant arrives with goods from distant towns. A pilgrim shares stories from another region. A wandering craftsman offers specialized services. Such visitors attract attention. Many villagers rarely travel far from home. Information from outside the immediate area therefore becomes fascinating. The farmer listens carefully. Perhaps the traveler describes a large city. Perhaps a distant market. Perhaps unusual customs encountered elsewhere. The wider world feels enormous, yet also strangely connected. Roads link villages to towns. Towns connect to larger cities. Trade routes extend across countries and beyond. Even remote farming communities participate in small ways within these larger networks. A sack of salt, a metal tool, a piece of cloth. Such items may have traveled considerable distances before reaching the village. The farmer's world is local, yet it is never completely isolated. As evening approaches once again, daily activity begins to slow. Neighbors return home. Animals are secured. Fires are lit. The familiar rhythm resumes. Yet beneath these ordinary routines lies something powerful. Community. The understanding that survival rarely depends upon one person alone. Instead, it emerges through relationships built over years. Through cooperation. Through shared experience. Through mutual support during difficult times. The medieval farmer may spend many hours working the land. But the village remains equally important. Because fields provide food. Yet people provide belonging. And as the stars begin appearing above the rooftops once more, we leave behind the social life of the village and prepare to explore another fascinating part of the farmer's world, the home itself, the place where work ends, stories are told, and generations live together beneath a single roof. As darkness settles gently over the village and families retreat indoors, our attention turns toward one of the most important places in a medieval farmer's life. Home. To modern eyes, a medieval farmhouse may appear simple. Perhaps even uncomfortably simple. Yet for the people who live within its walls, it is far more than a shelter from rain and wind. It is a workplace, a kitchen, a workshop, a gathering place, a nursery, a place of rest, a place of memory, and in many ways, it is the center around which daily life revolves. Let us imagine approaching a typical farmhouse near the end of the day. The structure stands modestly beside a narrow path. Its walls are constructed from materials gathered locally. Timber from nearby woodlands, clay from the earth, straw from harvested fields. Everything about the building reflects the resources available within the surrounding landscape. Nothing has traveled great distances. Nothing is unnecessary. Every piece serves a purpose. The roof is thickly covered with thatch. Bundles of straw or reeds layered carefully together create protection from rain and cold. When properly maintained, a thatched roof can last for many years. Maintaining it, however, requires constant attention. Weather gradually weakens even the strongest materials. Repairs become part of ordinary life. The farmer notices these details almost automatically. A section requiring patching. A beam showing signs of age. A loose piece of thatch displaced by strong wind. Small observations today prevent larger problems tomorrow. The wooden door opens with a familiar creak. Immediately, the atmosphere changes. Outside lies the open countryside. Inside lies a more intimate world. The room is dimly lit by firelight. The hearth occupies a central position within the home. Its importance cannot be overstated. The fire provides warmth. It provides light. It cooks food. It dries damp clothing. It serves as a gathering point for family members. Many hours of life unfold around its glow. The scent of wood smoke lingers throughout the building. To the people living here, it is simply part of everyday existence. The walls are plain. Furniture remains limited. A table, several stools or benches, storage chests, sleeping spaces, perhaps a few shelves holding valuable possessions. Compared to modern homes, the number of belongings is remarkably small. Yet every object carries significance. A wooden bowl may have been used for years. A cooking pot represents a substantial investment. A good knife serves countless purposes. Possessions are not easily replaced. They are maintained carefully, passed between generations, repaired whenever possible. The farmer sits near the fire after a long day. His muscles ache slightly from labor. The warmth feels welcome. Outside, wind brushes gently against the walls. Inside, family members continue their evening routines. One child helps prepare food. Another sorts small household items. An older relative works patiently on a repair project. Even during periods of rest, activity rarely stops entirely. The household remains productive. The line between work and home life is often blurred. Many tasks take place indoors, particularly during colder months. One corner of the room may contain spinning tools used to create thread from wool. Another area might hold baskets waiting for repair. Bundles of herbs hang drying from beams overhead. The house itself functions almost like a small workshop. Production happens continuously. A medieval family creates many of the things it needs. Clothing offers an excellent example. Modern people often purchase garments ready-made. For medieval families, clothing involves a long chain of labor. Wool must first be collected, then cleaned, then prepared, then spun into thread, then woven into fabric, then cut and sewn. Every stage requires time. Every stage requires skill. The farmer's family participates in many parts of this process. A shirt represents much more than clothing. It represents weeks or months of effort. The same is true for blankets, cloaks, bags, and countless other items. As evening deepens, supper is served. Meals vary according to season and circumstance. Yet certain foods appear regularly. Bread remains central. Porridge is common. Vegetables contribute important nutrition. Beans often appear. Cheese may be available. Occasionally, meat supplements the meal. The exact menu depends greatly upon harvest conditions, regional traditions, and family resources. People eat what is available. What can be grown? What can be preserved? What can be afforded? Food storage becomes especially important. The farmer's family constantly thinks ahead. Winter always returns. Poor harvests occasionally occur. Preparation provides security. Storage chests contain grain. Preserved foods occupy valuable space. Dried herbs are saved for future use. Every household develops strategies for managing resources throughout the year. Children learn these habits from an early age. Nothing is wasted, not because of strict rules, but because necessity encourages efficiency. The evening meal often becomes a time for conversation. The day's events are discussed. Plans are made. Small concerns are addressed. Perhaps a fence requires repair tomorrow. Perhaps weather conditions suggest a change in priorities. Perhaps a neighbor needs assistance with a particular task. Discussion helps coordinate household activities. It also strengthens family bonds. In a world without television, smartphones, or electronic entertainment, people spend far more time talking with one another. Stories occupy a special place within these conversations. Some stories are practical. A lesson learned from a difficult harvest. Advice regarding livestock. Information about weather patterns. Other stories are purely entertaining. Legends. Local folklore. Tales passed through generations. The farmer may remember hearing them as a child. Now he shares them with the next generation. The cycle continues. Oral storytelling remains one of the most important forms of entertainment, and one of the most important methods of preserving knowledge. Outside, darkness fully surrounds the village. The night sky stretches above the rooftops. Inside, the fire crackles softly. Its light dances across wooden walls. Family members gradually prepare for sleep. The pace of life slows. Tools are set aside. Conversations become quieter. The day's responsibilities have been completed. Tomorrow will bring new challenges. But for now, there is rest. Sleeping arrangements often differ from modern expectations. Several family members may share the same room. Beds remain simple. Mattresses stuffed with straw or other available materials provide modest comfort. Blankets offer warmth during colder months. Privacy is limited. Yet these arrangements feel normal to those who live this way. The concept of personal space differs considerably from modern standards. Families spend much of their lives together, working together, eating together, sleeping under the same roof, sharing experiences daily. As the farmer lies down, the sounds of the house gradually fade. The fire settles into glowing embers. Wind moves softly outside. Occasionally, an animal can be heard from a nearby shelter. Otherwise, the night remains peaceful. The farmer reflects briefly upon the day. Fields examined. Animals cared for. Repairs completed. Meals shared. Conversations enjoyed. Tomorrow's work will arrive soon enough. For now, there is comfort in familiar routines. Comfort in the knowledge that another day has been lived successfully. Across the medieval countryside, thousands upon thousands of families settle into similar rhythms. Different villages, different regions, different landscapes, yet many experiences remain remarkably familiar. The home offers protection, warmth, community, continuity, a place where generations leave traces of their lives upon walls, furniture, tools, and memories. And as sleep finally arrives within the quiet farmhouse, another aspect of medieval life begins to emerge from the darkness. For beyond the home and beyond the village lie the roads of the wider world, paths traveled by merchants, pilgrims, messengers, and wanderers, whose journeys occasionally bring distant places into the farmer's otherwise local existence. That wider world, though often far away, will be the destination of our next chapter. Morning arrives beneath a sky filled with soft grey clouds. The farmer steps outside and notices the familiar path that winds away from the village. It is not a grand road. No stone pavement stretches toward the horizon. No endless line of travelers fills the landscape. Instead, it is a simple dirt track worn by generations of footsteps, wagon wheels, and animal hooves. Yet despite its humble appearance, this path connects the village to a much larger world. For most medieval farmers, daily life remains centered around local surroundings. The fields, the church, the woodland, the neighboring farms. These places form the boundaries of ordinary experience. And yet, occasionally, something from beyond those boundaries arrives. A traveler, a merchant, a pilgrim, a messenger, a stranger carrying stories from distant places. Such encounters often become memorable events. In an age when information travels slowly, every traveler brings with them a small piece of the wider world. The farmer has likely spent most of his life within a relatively limited area. He knows nearby villages. He knows the roads leading to local markets. He knows the streams, hills, and forests that surround his home. Beyond that, much of the world exists through stories. Stories told by visitors. Stories shared by merchants. Stories passed from person to person across great distances. One afternoon, while working near a field close to the road, the farmer notices movement in the distance. A small wagon approaches. Its wheels creak steadily. A pair of horses pull it along at an unhurried pace. As it draws nearer, details become visible. Bundles of goods, travel-worn clothing, dust gathered from many miles of road. The driver is a merchant. Such figures appear from time to time. They move between villages, towns, and cities, carrying items that cannot easily be produced locally. Sold, metal goods, vine cloths, specialized tools, perhaps even spices from distant regions. To modern observers accustomed to global trade, these items may seem ordinary. But in the medieval world, many goods travel long and difficult routes before reaching rural communities. The merchant becomes an object of curiosity. Villagers gather. Questions are asked. News is exchanged. Business is conducted. The farmer examines the items being offered. A metal knife catches his attention. The craftsmanship exceeds what can easily be produced within the village. A strong blade is valuable, useful every day. If the price is reasonable, the purchase may be worthwhile. Economic decisions are rarely made casually. Resources remain limited. Every transaction matters. The merchant also brings stories. Perhaps he recently visited a large market town. Perhaps he passed through several regions, experiencing unusual weather. Perhaps he heard news from a distant city. Information spreads in this way. Slowly, piece by piece. A farmer living in a small village may eventually learn about events occurring hundreds of miles away. But the news arrives gradually, carried by countless travelers moving along roads and pathways. Markets provide another important connection to the wider world. Not every village hosts its own large market. Many farmers occasionally travel to nearby towns where goods can be exchanged and purchased. These journeys represent significant events within the rhythm of ordinary life. Let us imagine the farmer preparing for such a trip. The day begins early. A wagon is loaded. Items intended for trade are secured carefully. Perhaps surplus grain, perhaps wool, perhaps eggs or other products. The exact cargo depends upon the season and local economy. The road stretches ahead. Unlike modern travel, medieval journeys require patience. Distances that seem modest today may consume many hours. Road conditions vary greatly. Rain creates mud. Ruts develop from wagon traffic. Bridges require maintenance. Travel remains slower and less predictable than modern people often expect. As the farmer approaches the market town, the atmosphere changes noticeably. The quiet countryside gives way to increased activity. More travelers appear. Buildings become more numerous. Voices grow louder. The scent of cooking food drifts through the air. For someone accustomed to village life, the market presents a fascinating experience. Stalls line open spaces. Merchants display goods. Customers negotiate prices. Craftsmen demonstrate skills. Animals are bought and sold. Information flows constantly. The market functions not only as an economic center, but also as a social gathering place. People meet relatives, exchange news, discuss harvest conditions, arrange future transactions. The farmer moves slowly through the crowd. There is much to observe. Perhaps a blacksmith displays newly forged tools. Nearby, a cloth merchant offers fabrics unavailable in smaller villages. Elsewhere, a trader sells salt, an essential resource for preserving food. Each stall represents specialized knowledge, specialized labor. The medieval economy depends upon many different occupations working together. Farmers produce food. Blacksmiths create tools. Millers process grain. Carpenters shape wood. Weavers produce cloth. Each profession contributes something valuable. The farmer may spend several hours conducting business. Yet often the memories that remain strongest involve the people rather than the goods. A conversation with a traveler. A story heard from another region. A glimpse of an unfamiliar custom. These experiences broaden understanding of the world, even if only slightly. Not all travelers are merchants. Pilgrims also move along medieval roads. Religious journeys hold deep importance for many people. Some pilgrims travel short distances. Others journey across entire countries. They visit holy sites, attend religious festivals, seek spiritual guidance. Along the way, they share stories and experiences gathered from many different places. The farmer occasionally encounters such travelers. Their clothing may be worn from long journeys, their faces weathered by sun and wind. Yet they carry knowledge of roads, towns, and regions far beyond the local landscape. Listening to them can feel like opening a window onto another world. The roads themselves possess unique character. Some follow routes established centuries earlier. Others wind through forests and across fields. Travelers encounter changing scenery as they move from place to place. Rolling farmland, dense woodlands, river crossings, open meadows, hilltop views. The medieval landscape is diverse and constantly changing. For the farmer, however, these roads usually remain secondary to everyday responsibilities. Travel happens occasionally. The village remains home. The fields remain central. Yet the existence of these routes reminds everyone that they are part of something larger. Larger than the village, larger than the parish, larger even than the surrounding region. Goods move, people move, ideas move, slowly perhaps, but continuously. As evening approaches, the farmer begins the journey home. The wagon feels lighter or heavier, depending upon the day's transactions. The road stretches ahead beneath the fading sunlight. Birds settle into trees. Long shadows cross the countryside. The familiar landscape gradually returns. The church tower becomes visible in the distance. Smoke rises from village chimneys. The comfort of home draws nearer. There is reassurance in returning. The wider world may be interesting, sometimes exciting, occasionally surprising, but the farmer's deepest connection remains with the place where daily life unfolds. The fields waiting for tomorrow's work. The family gathered around the hearths. The neighbors who share burdens and celebrations. The rhythms that provide structure to existence. Yet even as he returns home, the farmer carries something back with him. New information, new stories, new perspectives. The wider world has briefly touched village life once again. And in the centuries ahead, those connections will gradually grow stronger. But for now, in this medieval age, they remain occasional threads linking countless small communities across vast distances. As darkness settles over the road and the village lights begin to glow softly in the distance, our attention will next turn toward another powerful force shaping the farmer's life: faith, tradition, and the religious rhythms that influence nearly every season of the year. As the farmer returns from the market and the village settles into another peaceful evening, the church bell sounds across the countryside. Its tone drifts over fields, hedgerows, and winding paths. People hear it while repairing tools. They hear it while preparing supper. They hear it while gathering animals for the night. The sound is familiar, comfortingly familiar. It has accompanied their lives for years. For many medieval farmers, faith is woven into everyday existence so completely that separating religious life from ordinary life would feel almost impossible. Religion is not simply something practiced on certain days. It helps shape the calendar. It shapes traditions. It shapes celebrations. It shapes understanding of the world itself. To understand the medieval farmer, we must understand this rhythm of belief that moves quietly beneath the surface of daily life. The church stands near the center of the village. Its stone walls have endured many seasons. Generations have gathered within them. Children have been baptized there. Couples married there. Families mourned losses there. The building serves not only as a place of worship, but also as a symbol of continuity. While crops rise and fall, while seasons change, while generations come and go, the church remains. On a typical Sunday morning, the atmosphere in the village differs from an ordinary workday. People wake early. Their clothing is carefully prepared. The farmer wears garments reserved for special occasions whenever possible. Though still simple by modern standards, these clothes may be cleaner, better maintained, or slightly finer than those worn during fieldwork. Families gather together. Neighbors join one another on paths leading toward the church. Conversations take place quietly. Children walk beside parents. Elderly villagers move at a slower pace. The church gradually fills. Sunlight filters through narrow windows. Candles flicker softly. Voices lower. The familiar rituals begin. For many villagers, these weekly gatherings provide reassurance. The service offers structure. It offers community. It offers a shared experience connecting everyone present. Life in the medieval world often contains uncertainty. Weather remains unpredictable. Harvests can fail. Illness can arrive unexpectedly. Faith provides a framework through which many people understand these challenges. Not necessarily answers to every question, but a sense of order, a sense of meaning. The farmer may spend much of his week thinking about practical matters. Fields, animals, tools, weather. Yet religious observances regularly encourage reflection upon larger questions. Questions about life, duty, community, hope. The medieval calendar itself is shaped by religious observance. Throughout the year, feast days and holy days create moments of pause within the agricultural routine. These occasions bring variety to village life. Some are solemn, others are joyful. Many become eagerly anticipated events. Imagine the arrival of a major feast day. Preparations begin well in advance. Food is set aside. Homes are cleaned. Special arrangements are made whenever resources allow. The atmosphere gradually changes. People look forward to gathering with friends and relatives. Work continues, of course. The fields cannot simply be ignored. Animals still require care. Yet the approaching celebration creates a sense of anticipation. When the day finally arrives, the village feels transformed. Church bells ring. Families gather. Conversations fill open spaces. Children laugh and run through the village green. Meals become slightly more elaborate than usual. Stories are shared. Music may be played. For a brief time, the relentless cycle of labor eases. People celebrate together. These moments help strengthen social bonds. They remind everyone that life contains joy alongside responsibility. The farmer appreciates such occasions, not because work disappears, but because community becomes more visible. Neighbors who spend much of the year focused on separate tasks come together. Relationships are renewed. Memories are created. Traditions are passed forward. Many customs associated with religious festivals blend older local traditions with newer practices. The exact details vary from region to region. One village may celebrate differently than another. Yet the underlying purpose remains similar. People gather. They remember. They participate in something larger than themselves. The changing seasons often reinforce these observances. Spring celebrations coincide with renewal. Summer festivals occur amid growth and abundance. Autumn traditions accompany harvest. Winter observances bring warmth and light during the darkest months. Nature and religious life frequently move together. Each season acquires additional meaning through ritual and tradition. For the farmer, these observances help organize time itself. Modern people often rely upon calendars filled with precise dates. The medieval farmer experiences time differently. Important moments are remembered through seasons, harvests, feast days, and community events. A conversation might reference something that happened before a particular festival, or shortly after a harvest celebration. Time becomes closely connected to shared experiences. The village priest occupies a respected position within this world. His responsibilities extend beyond conducting services. He may offer guidance, assist families during difficult times, help resolve disputes, preside over important ceremonies. For many villagers, he serves as both spiritual leader and community figure. The relationship is often personal. The priest knows the families. The families know him. Their lives intersect regularly. Not all aspects of medieval faith are joyful. Life expectancy is shorter than in the modern world. Illness remains common. Medical knowledge is limited. Loss touches nearly every family. Funeral ceremonies therefore become important communal events. When a villager dies, neighbors gather. Prayers are offered. Memories are shared. Support is provided to grieving families. The community comes together during moments of sorrow, just as it does during celebrations. The farmer understands this deeply. He has attended weddings, baptisms, harvest feasts, and funerals. Each event reminds him that life is interconnected. No one moves through it entirely alone. As evening falls after another Sunday, villagers return home along familiar paths. The service has ended. The gathering is complete. Yet its influence remains. People carry conversations with them. They carry reflections. They carry a renewed sense of connection. The church bell grows silent. The countryside returns to its ordinary sounds. Birds settle into trees. Wind moves through fields. Smoke rises from hearth fires. The farmer walks beside family members toward home. Tomorrow work will begin again. The animals will need care. The fields will require attention. The endless cycle of rural life will continue. But tonight there is a sense of peace, a sense of belonging, a sense that individual lives form part of a larger story stretching across generations. Faith, tradition, and community have helped create that feeling. And these forces remain woven into nearly every aspect of village existence. Yet even within a life shaped by routine and tradition, challenges are never far away. The medieval farmer faces difficulties that modern people rarely encounter. Harsh weather, crop failures, disease, uncertainty. In the next chapter, we will explore those challenges and discover how ordinary families endure hardships that test their resilience year after year. The peaceful rhythms of village life can sometimes create the impression that a medieval farmer lives in a world of steady predictability. The seasons change. The crops grow. The animals are tended. Families gather around the hearth each evening. And in many years, life follows patterns that have remained familiar for generations. Yet beneath that appearance of stability lies a reality every farmer understands. The land is generous, but it is never guaranteed. Every harvest depends upon conditions that no one can fully control. Every season brings uncertainty, and every family must learn how to endure challenges that arrive without warning. One spring morning, the farmer awakens to the sound of rain. At first, the steady rhythm against the roof seems welcome. Rain nourishes crops. Rain fills streams. Rain supports growth. But as the days pass, the rain continues. And continues. And continues. Paths become muddy. Fields grow waterlogged. Planting schedules fall behind. The farmer watches the sky with increasing concern. Too little rain creates problems. Too much rain creates different problems. Agriculture depends upon balance. Nature does not always provide it. Standing at the edge of a field, the farmer studies the soil. Water pools in low areas. Young plants struggle beneath grey skis. Nothing can be done except wait. This is one of the hardest lessons rural life teaches. There are moments when effort alone cannot solve a problem. Patience becomes necessary. The farmer has already worked hard. The seeds have already been planted. Now nature must do its part. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does not. In another year, the opposite challenge may arrive. Weeks pass without meaningful rainfall. The earth becomes dry. Cracks appear in the soil. Grass loses some of its color. Streams shrink slightly. Animals search longer for fresh grazing. The farmer looks toward the horizon each evening, hoping to see rain clouds gathering. The sky remains clear. The days remain hot. Again, there is little to do except adapt. These moments remind medieval families how closely their lives remain tied to natural forces. Modern technologies that reduce agricultural risk do not exist. The farmer relies upon experience, observation, preparation, and resilience. Yet even these cannot eliminate uncertainty. Weather is only one challenge among many. Disease also casts a long shadow over medieval life. Illness affects people. It affects animals, and often arrives unexpectedly. One morning, a cow that appeared healthy the previous day seems weak. The farmer notices immediately. The animal eats less, moves more slowly, shows signs that something is wrong. Concern follows. Livestock represent food, labor, economic security. A sick animal creates worry far beyond its immediate condition. The farmer does what he can. Experience offers guidance. Neighbors may provide advice. Traditional remedies may be attempted. Yet outcomes remain uncertain. The limits of available knowledge become painfully clear during such moments. Human illness presents similar difficulties. A child develops a fever. A family member becomes weak. The community responds with concern and support. But medical understanding remains limited. Recovery often depends upon factors beyond anyone's control. These experiences teach humility. The farmer understands that life contains vulnerabilities. No amount of hard work can eliminate them entirely. Winter introduces another set of challenges. A particularly harsh season can test even well-prepared households. Imagine a year when early snowfall arrives unexpectedly. The cold settles across the countryside sooner than anticipated. Additional supplies are needed. Fuel consumption increases. Animals require more feed. Stored resources begin disappearing faster than expected. The farmer carefully monitors every reserve, each bundle of firewood, each sack of grain, each stack of hay. Preparation now reveals its value. Families who planned carefully often fare better during difficult winters. Those who encountered poor harvests earlier in the year face greater difficulties. Community support becomes especially important during these times. Neighbors share what they can. Assistance flows where it is most needed. No one can solve every problem, but collective effort often softens hardship. The farmer remembers years when others provided help, and years when his own household assisted neighboring families. Such experiences strengthen community bonds. Hardship reveals character, not only of individuals, but of entire villages. Sometimes challenges arrive suddenly. A violent storm appears on the horizon. Dark clouds gather rapidly. Strong winds sweep across the fields. The farmer watches as trees bend beneath powerful gusts. Rain lashes the landscape. Thunder rolls overhead. Hours later, the storm passes. The damage remains. Broken branches, damaged fences, perhaps portions of a crop flattened by wind. The work of recovery begins immediately. Repairs must be made. Animals checked. Fields inspected. The storm has taken its toll. Yet life continues. The farmer begins rebuilding. Resilience becomes second nature. Repeated experience teaches that setbacks are unavoidable. What matters is the response. Throughout medieval life, uncertainty encourages practical wisdom. Families learn to save during good years. They learn to prepare for difficult ones. They learn not to assume favorable conditions will last forever. A successful harvest is celebrated precisely because people understand how fragile success can be. This awareness influences attitudes toward resources. Nothing is wasted unnecessarily. Tools are repaired rather than discarded. Clothing is patched repeatedly. Food is preserved carefully. Every item carries value. Every resource reflects labor. The farmer's outlook has been shaped by countless examples of this reality. Perhaps he remembers a year when harvests were abundant. Granaries were full. The village prospered. Then he remembers another year when conditions were less favorable. The contrast leaves a lasting impression. Experience teaches caution alongside optimism. Hope remains important, but preparation remains equally important. Even social tensions occasionally create challenges. Disagreements over land. Questions concerning shared grazing areas. Conflicts involving livestock wandering into cultivated fields. Such disputes are part of human nature. They occur in every era. The medieval village is no exception. Most disagreements are eventually resolved. Practical necessity encourages cooperation. People continue living beside one another, working near one another, depending upon one another. Maintaining relationships matters. The farmer understands this as well. Life becomes easier when neighbors trust one another. Difficulties become more manageable when communities remain united. As years pass, these challenges accumulate into experience. The farmer grows older. His understanding deepens. He learns which concerns deserve immediate attention, which problems require patience, which setbacks are temporary, and which require significant adaptation. Wisdom often emerges from hardship, not because hardship is desirable, but because overcoming it teaches valuable lessons. One evening, after completing another day of work, the farmer sits outside his home. The sun sinks slowly toward the horizon. Warm light spreads across the fields. Birds settle among trees. The village grows quieter. He reflects upon the many difficulties encountered over the years. Storms survived. Harsh winters endured. Poor harvests overcome. Repairs completed. Losses accepted. Successes appreciated. Life has never been easy. Yet neither has it been without rewards. The land continues to provide. The family remains together. The community endures. Tomorrow will bring new responsibilities. Perhaps new challenges as well. But experience has taught him something important. Most difficulties eventually pass. Seasons change. Conditions improve. Opportunities return. The cycle continues. And within that cycle, resilience becomes one of the farmer's most valuable possessions. As twilight deepens and stars begin appearing overhead, another thought emerges. Despite the hardships of medieval life, there are also countless surprising details that modern people rarely consider. Small comforts, unexpected skills, ingenious solutions, moments of beauty hidden within ordinary routines. In the next chapter, we will explore some of the most fascinating and surprising aspects of a medieval farmer's world, details that reveal a richer and more complex life than many people imagine. When many people imagine the life of a medieval farmer, they often picture endless hardship. They imagine long days of labor, simple homes, limited possessions, and constant struggle. There is truth in some of these images. Life is physically demanding. Resources are often scarce. Uncertainty remains a regular companion. Yet this picture is incomplete, because alongside the challenges exist countless details that reveal a far richer and more fascinating world. The medieval farmer is not merely surviving. He is observing, learning, adapting, creating, participating in traditions that have evolved across generations. And many aspects of his life would surprise a modern visitor. Let us begin with something simple. Sound. Modern people rarely experience true quiet. Even in rural areas, distant traffic, aircraft, machinery, and electronics create a constant background presence. The medieval countryside sounds very different. Imagine standing in a field at sunrise. No engines, no power lines, no distant highways. Instead, the landscape is filled with natural sounds. Birdsong drifts through the air. Wind moves gently through grasses. A nearby stream murmurs over stones. Insects hum among wildflowers. The occasional call of livestock carries across the fields. Silence itself becomes noticeable. Not complete silence, but a different kind of quiet. A quiet shaped by nature rather than technology. The farmer spends his entire life within this environment. His senses become highly attuned to subtle changes. He notices a new bird call, a shift in wind direction, the distant sound of approaching rain. These observations often provide useful information. Nature speaks constantly. The farmer learns how to listen. Another surprising aspect of medieval life involves darkness. Today, artificial lighting allows people to remain active long after sunset. The medieval farmer experiences darkness in a very different way. Night transforms the landscape completely. When the sun disappears, the world grows genuinely dark. The stars become astonishingly bright. The moon casts visible shadows. Constellations appear with remarkable clarity. Many modern observers would find the night sky almost unbelievable. Without urban lighting, thousands of stars reveal themselves. The farmer knows these skies intimately. He has spent countless evenings beneath them. He recognizes seasonal changes in the heavens. He understands which stars rise during different times of the year. The sky becomes both familiar and endlessly fascinating. Food also contains surprises. Many people assume medieval diets are monotonous and lacking variety. While meals certainly differ from modern cuisine, the reality is often more complex. The farmer's family consumes a range of foods depending upon region, season, and local resources. Gardens provide vegetables. Woodlands offer nuts and berries. Herbs contribute flavor. Cheese adds variety. Fish may supplement meals in certain areas. Different grains create different types of bread and porridge. The menu changes throughout the year. Seasonality shapes eating habits in ways many modern people rarely experience. Spring tastes different from autumn. Summer offers foods unavailable during winter. Each season brings its own flavors. The farmer becomes deeply aware of these cycles. Certain foods create anticipation simply because they appear only at specific times. The relationship between people and food remains direct. The farmer often knows exactly where each meal originated. He planted the grain, tended the garden, cared for the animals. The connection between labor and nourishment remains visible. Nothing feels abstract. Every meal reflects real effort. Another misconception concerns knowledge. Modern people sometimes assume medieval farmers possess little understanding of the world around them. In reality, they often develop highly specialized expertise. Consider weather. The farmer spends decades observing local conditions. He notices cloud formations, seasonal patterns, wind behavior, the appearance of plants, the behavior of animals. While he lacks modern scientific instruments, his practical knowledge can be remarkably sophisticated. The same is true of agriculture. The farmer understands soil quality, planting schedules, animal care, food preservation, tool maintenance. His expertise develops through years of direct experience. Knowledge does not always come from books. Sometimes it comes from observation, repeated thousands of times. The medieval farmer possesses this kind of knowledge in abundance. The home itself contains many ingenious solutions. Space remains limited. Resources remain valuable. As a result, people become exceptionally skilled at using what they have. Storage systems are carefully organized. Tools serve multiple purposes. Furniture is often practical and durable. Nothing occupies space without reason. Every object earns its place. Clothing reveals another surprising reality. Creating garments requires enormous effort. Because of this, people care for clothing with great attention. Items are repaired repeatedly, altered when necessary, passed between family members. A cloak may serve someone for years, perhaps decades. The modern habit of frequently replacing garments would seem extraordinary to many medieval families. Repair is normal. Waste is not. The farmer learns these habits from childhood. Resources are respected because obtaining them requires so much labor. One particularly fascinating aspect of medieval life involves memory. Without widespread access to written materials, people develop impressive abilities to remember information. Stories, genealogies, local histories, agricultural knowledge, religious teachings, all are preserved through repeated sharing. The farmer may remember advice received from grandparents decades earlier. Children learn by listening carefully. Knowledge survives through conversation, through repetition, through tradition. Community memory becomes remarkably strong. A visitor might be surprised by how much information people carry entirely in their minds. Travel, though less common than today, often feels more significant. A journey of 20 or 30 miles can become a memorable experience. New places feel genuinely new. Different accents attract attention. Unfamiliar customs create curiosity. The world appears larger because movement occurs more slowly. Distance possesses greater meaning. The farmer's village may seem small, yet stories from travelers bring glimpses of distant cities, foreign goods, and unfamiliar landscapes. These glimpses capture imaginations. They inspire curiosity. They connect local life to broader realities. Beauty also appears in unexpected places. A modern observer might focus primarily on hardship. The farmer notices other things. Morning mist rising from fields. Sunlight shining through autumn leaves. Fresh snow covering rooftops. The first green shoots of spring. A successful harvest glowing beneath evening light. Nature provides countless moments of quiet beauty. The farmer experiences them daily, not as special events, but as ordinary parts of life. Perhaps that makes them even more meaningful. The rhythms of nature create a kind of calendar written directly onto the landscape. Each season carries its own appearance, its own scent, its own sounds. The farmer knows them all. He recognizes subtle changes many modern people might overlook. The first signs of spring, the approach of harvest, the arrival of winter. His awareness develops through lifelong observation. In many ways, he becomes an expert reader of the natural world. Even leisure contains surprises. Although work dominates much of life, people still find opportunities for enjoyment. Festivals, music, storytelling, games, conversations around the hearth, community gatherings. These activities provide balance. The farmer does not spend every moment laboring. Periods of rest exist as well. They may be modest, but they are valued. Laughter remains part of village life. Friendship remains part of village life. Celebration remains part of village life. The medieval world is neither entirely harsh nor entirely idyllic. It contains both challenges and joys. Just like every era. As evening settles over the countryside once more, the farmer walks slowly along the edge of a field. The sky glows with the colors of sunset. Gold, amber, soft shades of red. Birds settle for the night. A cool breeze moves through the grass. The day is ending, and with it comes a quiet reminder. History is often more complicated than our assumptions. The medieval farmer is not merely a figure of hardship. He is a skilled observer, a caretaker of land, a participant in community, a keeper of traditions, a person living within a rich and complex world. And as darkness gradually spreads across the landscape, we prepare to follow him through one final journey, a complete day from beginning to end, experiencing every hour as it unfolds, and bringing together everything we have learned about life in the medieval countryside. Now that we have explored the seasons, the home, the village, the roads, the traditions, and the challenges that shape medieval life, let us return to where our journey began. A single day. An ordinary day. Not a day remembered by chroniclers. Not a day marked by great historical events. Simply one quiet day in the life of a medieval farmer. The sort of day that occurred thousands of times across countless villages. The sort of day that helped sustain entire kingdoms without ever appearing in history books. The stars still shine overhead. The world remains wrapped in darkness. The village sleeps. A cool breeze drifts across the fields. Grass glistens with dew. For a brief moment, everything feels perfectly still. Then movement begins inside a small farmhouse. The farmer awakens. There is no clock beside the bed. No glowing screen displaying the hour. No alarm ringing from a table. Years of routine have trained his body to rise before dawn. The habit feels natural, almost effortless. Slowly he sits up. The room remains dark. Only faint traces of starlight filter through small openings in the walls. Nearby, family members continue sleeping. The fire has burned low during the night. Only a few glowing embers remain. The air feels cool. The farmer pulls on simple clothing. A wool tunic. A belt. Well-worn leather shoes. Nothing luxurious. Nothing unnecessary. Each item has been used many times. Each item represents valuable labor. Outside, the darkness feels deeper. The sky above stretches endlessly. Thousands of stars fill the heavens. A familiar sight. One he rarely pauses to consider. Yet if a modern visitor stood beside him, they might remain speechless. The night sky appears brighter than almost anything they have experienced. The farmer takes a slow breath. The scent of damp earth lingers in the air. Nearby animals shift quietly within their shelters. A rooster calls. Soon another answers. The village begins waking. The first task of the day involves livestock. Animals cannot wait. Whether rain falls or snow covers the ground, they require attention every morning. The farmer carries feed, checks enclosures, examines animals carefully. A healthy cow, a restless sheep, a curious chicken pecking at the ground. Nothing seems unusual today. That is good news. Ordinary days are often the best days. The sky gradually changes. Black becomes dark blue. Dark blue becomes gray. The eastern horizon begins glowing softly. Another sunrise approaches. As daylight spreads across the landscape, details emerge. Fields, fences, trees. The church tower rising above village rooftops. The countryside slowly reveals itself. The farmer pauses briefly to watch. Not because he has extra time. There is never much extra time. But because certain moments naturally invite observation. The sunrise is one of them. The first rays of sunlight touch distant hills. Mist drifts above low ground. Birds begin singing. The world feels fresh, new, full of possibility. Breakfast follows. Simple bread. Perhaps a little cheese. Perhaps porridge. The meal is modest but nourishing. Family members gather together. Conversation remains practical. Weather conditions. Plans for the day. Tasks requiring attention. Everyone contributes. Everyone understands their responsibilities. Soon breakfast ends. The day's work begins in earnest. The farmer walks toward the fields. Morning sunlight stretches across the landscape. The air remains pleasantly cool. This is often one of the most comfortable times of day. The farmer enjoys it while it lasts. By midday, conditions may be warmer. For now, however, the countryside feels calm and inviting. Today's priority involves maintaining a section of cultivated land. Recent growth appears healthy, but weeds have begun competing with crops. The farmer kneels among rows of plants. Patiently, he removes unwanted growth. The work is repetitive, steady, almost rhythmic. Hands move automatically. Years of experience guide every motion. Hours pass. Birdsong continues overhead. Clouds drift slowly across the sky. The farmer remains focused. There is satisfaction in caring for the land. Progress may be gradual, yet it remains visible. Each completed row represents accomplishment. As the sun climbs higher, activity increases throughout the village. Neighbors work nearby. Children assist with smaller tasks. Animals graze in pastures. The entire landscape feels productive, alive, purposeful. The farmer exchanges greetings with another villager. They discuss rainfall, crop conditions, perhaps news heard from a traveler. The conversation lasts only a few minutes. Work awaits. Yet these small interactions matter. They strengthen community bonds. They remind everyone that no family faces challenges entirely alone. Eventually, midday arrives. The sun stands high overhead. The farmer pauses for a meal beneath the shade of a tree. Nearby fields ripple gently in the breeze. Grasshoppers leap through the vegetation. A distant hawk circles above open ground. Lunch remains simple. Bread, cheese, perhaps onions or beans. The food tastes satisfying after a morning of labor. For a few moments, the pace slows. The farmer rests, observes the landscape, listens to the sounds surrounding him. Then work resumes. The afternoon brings different responsibilities. A fence requires repair. Several wooden posts have weakened. Tools are gathered. Measurements taken. Repairs begin. The farmer works steadily. Not quickly, not slowly, simply at a pace that experience has taught him to maintain. The sun gradually begins moving westward. Shadows lengthen. The brightest heat of the day begins to fade. Nearby, animals require attention once more. The farmer checks water supplies, examines grazing conditions, ensures everything remains secure. These routines repeat daily. Their importance never diminishes. A single overlooked detail can create significant problems later. By late afternoon, golden light spreads across the countryside. The landscape takes on a softer appearance. Fields glow. Trees cast long shadows. Bird activity changes as evening approaches. The farmer feels the familiar fatigue that follows a productive day. Muscles ache slightly. Hands show evidence of labor. Yet there is satisfaction as well. Much has been accomplished. The walk home feels pleasant. Smoke rises from chimneys. Voices drift from nearby homes. The village prepares for evening. Inside the farmhouse, supper is already being prepared. The scent of cooking fills the room. The fire burns brightly within the hearth. Family members gather together. Stories are exchanged. Plans for tomorrow are discussed. The atmosphere feels warm, comfortable, familiar. The farmer eats slowly, enjoying the opportunity to rest. The day's labor is finished. For now, outside, darkness gradually returns. Stars appear one by one. The village grows quieter. Animals settle for the night. The fire crackles softly. Children grow sleepy. Conversations become less frequent. The rhythm of the day naturally slows. Eventually, the farmer steps outside. The air feels cool. The sky overhead stretches endlessly. Countless stars shine above the sleeping countryside. The same stars watched by parents, grandparents, generations stretching far into the past. For a few moments, he simply stands there, listening, observing, breathing the cool night air. Tomorrow another day will begin. Another sunrise, another cycle of work, another opportunity to care for the land and provide for the family. The pattern continues, day after day, season after season, year after year. And within that repetition lies the true story of medieval farming life. Not grand adventures, not dramatic battles, but quiet persistence, steady labor, community, family, patience, and a deep connection to the rhythms of the natural world. As the farmer finally returns indoors and the last embers glow softly within the hearth, the village settles completely into sleep. And under the vast medieval sky, another ordinary day comes peacefully to an end. The day has ended. The village sleeps. The fields rest beneath the moonlight. And yet, if we remain here quietly for a little longer, another perspective begins to emerge. For the medieval farmer is not only living a single day. He is living within a chain of generations. Every field he works has likely been worked before. Every path he follows has been walked by countless feet. Every skill he uses has been taught by someone older. The story of the farmer is also the story of continuity, of knowledge moving slowly through time, of traditions surviving not because they are written down, but because people remember them. Let us imagine a winter evening many years later. The farmer who once rose before dawn to tend young crops now carries more years upon his shoulders. His movements are slower. His hair shows traces of grey. The strength remains, but experience has become his greatest resource. Outside, snow drifts softly across the village. Inside, the fire burns warmly. Children sit nearby listening. Some are his own. Some are grandchildren. The room feels peaceful, comfortable. The work of the day has been completed. Now there is time for stories. The older farmer begins describing winters from long ago. A season when snow arrived unusually early. A harvest remembered for its abundance. A storm that damaged fences across the entire village. The listeners lean closer. Not because these stories involve famous events, but because they involve familiar places. Fields they know. Roads they have walked. People they have heard about. The stories connect generations. The past remains alive through memory. This transfer of knowledge is one of the most important processes in medieval life. Books exist. Written records exist. But for many rural families, practical wisdom travels primarily through conversation. A grandfather teaches a grandson how to recognize approaching weather. A mother teaches a daughter how to preserve food. A father explains when to plant certain crops. Knowledge survives because people share it. The farmer understands this responsibility. Everything he has learned came from others. Now it is his turn to pass those lessons forward. Outside, wind brushes against the walls. Inside, the firelight flickers gently. The children listen carefully. Some lessons concern farming. Others concern character, patience, responsibility, cooperation, resilience, the qualities required to thrive in rural life. These lessons matter as much as practical skills, because the land demands more than labor. It demands judgment. Good decisions often result from experience, and experience often comes from listening to those who came before. The older farmer remembers his own childhood. He remembers standing beside his father in the fields, watching, learning, asking questions. At the time, many tasks seemed ordinary. Only later did he understand how much knowledge was being shared. The angle of a plow, the condition of soil, the behavior of livestock, the signs of changing weather. Every observation carried meaning. Every lesson accumulated slowly, year after year, season after season. The cycle continues. Children become adults. Adults become elders. The village changes gradually. New houses appear. Old structures disappear. Families grow. Generations pass. Yet many things remain familiar. The church bell still rings. Fields still stretch across the landscape. Paths still connect homes and farms. The rhythms of agricultural life continue. One spring morning, years after our story first began, a younger farmer walks into the same fields. The older farmer watches from a distance. The sight feels familiar, almost like looking backward through time. The younger man moves with confidence. The work is performed correctly. The lessons have been learned. Knowledge has survived another generation. There is satisfaction in that realization. The farmer understands something important. Individual lives are temporary. The work continues. The village continues. The land continues. People contribute their efforts for a time. Then others follow. This perspective shapes attitudes toward the future. The farmer plants trees he may never see fully mature, repairs buildings that may shelter future generations, maintains fields that children and grandchildren will eventually inherit. The relationship with time feels different, longer, broader, less focused upon immediate rewards. The countryside itself reflects this continuity. Ancient trees stand beside newer growth. Old paths cross recently cultivated land. Layers of history exist everywhere. Most remain unnoticed during daily routines. Yet they are present. The farmer walks through a landscape shaped by countless lives, just as future generations will walk through landscapes shaped partly by his own efforts. As evening deepens, the fire burns lower. The stories continue. The children ask questions. Laughter occasionally fills the room. Outside, snow continues falling quietly. The village sleeps beneath a blanket of white. Inside, knowledge moves forward through conversation. No ceremony marks the moment. No official record documents it. Yet it may be one of the most important things happening that night. The future is being prepared. One lesson at a time. One story at a time. One generation at a time. The older farmer eventually grows tired. The day has been long. The years have been long as well. But there is comfort in the familiar surroundings. Comfort in the presence of family. Comfort in knowing that much of what matters will continue. The fields will awaken when spring returns. The animals will require care. The crops will be planted. The harvest will arrive. The cycle remains unbroken. As the children prepare for sleep, the farmer adds one final piece of wood to the fire. Flames rise briefly, then settle. Warm light fills the room. Outside, the stars remain hidden behind winter clouds. Yet beyond those clouds, they are still there, just as they have always been, watching over fields, villages, roads, and generations of people whose lives unfold beneath them. The medieval farmer may never travel far. He may never become famous. His name may never appear in a chronicle. Yet his life matters, not because it is extraordinary, but because it is representative of millions of ordinary lives that quietly shaped history. Kingdoms depended upon people like him. Cities depended upon people like him. Entire societies rested upon the labor of families working the land. And although centuries separate his world from ours, some experiences remain surprisingly familiar. The desire to provide for family. The satisfaction of meaningful work. The comfort of community. The hope for a better future. The appreciation of a peaceful evening after a long day. These things remain recognizable. They connect us across time. As our journey through the medieval countryside continues, we will soon enter the quieter final chapters of this long story. The pace will slow even further. The landscape will grow calmer. And together, we will reflect upon what it truly meant to live a life shaped by seasons, patience, and the enduring rhythms of the land. As our journey continues, the pace of the countryside seems to grow even quieter. The village remains much as it has always been. Fields stretch beyond the last houses. Woodlands stand patiently at the edge of cultivated land. The church bell occasionally marks the passage of time. Smoke rises from chimneys during cool mornings. And the farmer, like generations before him, continues moving through the familiar rhythm of the seasons. At this point, it may be tempting to think of medieval life as distant, almost like a different world entirely. And in many ways, it is. The tools are different. The homes are different. The customs are different. The understanding of the world is different. Yet beneath those differences lies something surprisingly familiar. People wake with responsibilities. They work toward goals. They care for those they love. They worry about the future. They celebrate good fortune. They endure difficult times. The details change across centuries. The human experience remains recognizable. Let us spend a little more time in the countryside, not focused on a specific task, not following a particular day. Instead, let us simply observe. The farmer walks along a path shortly after sunrise. The air feels cool. Mist lingers above low fields. Spider webs catch tiny droplets of moisture and briefly sparkle in the morning light. The landscape appears peaceful. Nothing dramatic is happening. And that is precisely the point. Most of life is not dramatic. Most of life consists of ordinary moments. The moments that rarely appear in historical records. The moments people experience while walking to work. Preparing meals. Repairing tools. Talking with neighbors. Watching weather move across the horizon. The farmer knows this kind of life intimately. He understands that meaningful days often pass quietly, one after another, without announcement, without recognition, and yet those days collectively form a lifetime. A flock of birds rises suddenly from a nearby field. Their wings create a brief rush of sound before they disappear into the distance. The farmer watches them go, then continues walking. There is no need to hurry. The work will be completed. The day will unfold. The seasons will continue. Patience has become part of his character. The land teaches patience better than any lesson. Seeds do not grow overnight. Trees do not mature quickly. Harvests require waiting. Experience requires waiting. Life itself requires waiting. The farmer has learned to accept this reality, not reluctantly, but naturally, as one accepts the movement of clouds or the arrival of evening. Nearby, a stream flows quietly through the countryside. The water follows the same path it followed yesterday, and the day before that, and perhaps for centuries before anyone living in the village was born. The farmer pauses beside it. Water has always played an important role in rural life. It nourishes crops, supports animals, provides drinking water, shapes landscapes. Streams become familiar companions. People cross them, follow them, depend upon them. The gentle sound of flowing water becomes part of the background music of daily existence. The farmer kneels briefly and watches sunlight reflecting from the surface. Small ripples move steadily downstream. Nothing appears hurried. Nothing appears forced. The stream simply follows its course. There is something comforting about that. The same can be said for many aspects of village life. The routines repeat. The seasons return. The years pass. Yet continuity provides reassurance. A sense that the world remains understandable despite its uncertainties. Later, as afternoon sunlight warms the countryside, the farmer notices children playing near the edge of the village. Their laughter drifts across the open space. For a moment, work pauses. Observation replaces activity. The sight brings a quiet smile. Every generation experiences childhood. Every generation imagines the future. The children running through the grass today will someday inherit responsibilities of their own. They will care for fields, raise families, maintain homes, continue traditions. The cycle remains unbroken. The farmer remembers his own childhood. The memories feel distant, yet certain details remain clear. The smell of freshly cut hay, the excitement of seasonal festivals, the feeling of walking beside older relatives through fields at sunrise. Some experiences remain vivid no matter how many years pass. As evening approaches, golden light once again spreads across the landscape. The colors soften, shadows lengthen, birds begin returning to their nesting places. The farmer makes his way home, not because the day has been unusual, but because it has been ordinary. And ordinary days have value, perhaps more value than people often realize. History frequently focuses on exceptional moments. Battles, coronations, political changes, major events. Yet those events occupy only a small portion of human experience. Most people throughout history spend most of their lives doing something else. Working, learning, caring for family, building communities, living ordinary days. The farmer represents those countless lives that rarely appear in written records, yet collectively shaped the world. Without farmers, cities could not grow. Without farmers, markets could not thrive. Without farmers, kingdoms could not function. Their contributions often remain invisible precisely because they are so fundamental. Back at the farmhouse, evening settles gently. The fire glows within the hearth. Supper is shared. Conversation unfolds naturally. Outside, darkness returns. Inside, warmth and familiarity create a sense of comfort. The farmer listens as family members speak. Some discuss plans for tomorrow. Others recall events from earlier in the week. Nothing feels urgent. Nothing feels dramatic. The atmosphere remains calm, steady, peaceful. The sort of evening repeated countless times across medieval Europe. Eventually, the conversation slows. The fire burns lower. The house grows quieter. The farmer steps outside one final time before sleep. Above him stretches a sky filled with stars. The same stars that watched over his grandparents. The same stars that will watch over future generations. The sight inspires reflection. Not grand philosophical reflection. Just a simple awareness of continuity, of belonging to something larger than oneself. The farmer breathes the cool night air, listens to distant sounds, feels the stillness of the countryside. Tomorrow another day will arrive, and after that another. The seasons will continue their endless procession. Spring, summer, autumn, winter, again and again. The fields will change. Children will grow. Generations will come and go. Yet many rhythms will remain familiar. And perhaps that is one of the most remarkable aspects of medieval farming life. Its connection to cycles that feel almost timeless. Cycles of work, rest, growth, harvest, family, community, and the land itself. As our story moves toward its final stages, the pace becomes softer still. The countryside grows quieter. The firelight grows warmer. And the medieval world, with all its challenges and simple beauties, settles gently around us like the closing hours of a peaceful evening. The evening has grown quiet now. The farmhouse is still. The village rests beneath a sky scattered with stars. The fields lie dark beyond the last fences, waiting patiently for another sunrise. And as we move into the final portion of our journey, it feels appropriate to slow down even further. To leave behind the busier parts of the day. To step away from work, responsibilities, and routines. And simply sit for a while within the landscape of the medieval countryside. Imagine standing at the edge of a field just before dawn. The world is almost silent. A faint silver light rests along the horizon. The stars have begun to fade, though a few still linger overhead. The air feels cool against your skin. Dew covers the grass. Each blade catches the earliest hints of morning light. Nothing appears rushed. Nothing demands immediate attention. The countryside seems suspended between night and day. For the farmer, moments like these occur thousands of times throughout a lifetime. Most pass without special notice. Yet together, they form the backdrop of existence. The quiet mornings, the changing seasons, the familiar paths, the sounds of birds greeting the sunrise. History often remembers dramatic events, but lives are built from quieter things. A single step along a familiar road. A meal shared beside a fire. a conversation with a neighbor, the sight of rain approaching across distant fields. These moments rarely enter written records, yet they are the moments people actually live. The medieval farmer understands this, even if he would never express it in those exact words. His attention remains focused on the immediate world around him. The condition of the soil, the behavior of livestock, the weather, the needs of family. Life unfolds through practical concerns. And perhaps there is something calming about that simplicity. Not because life is easy. It is not. But because much of life remains connected to tangible realities. The farmer knows where his food comes from. He knows where his water comes from. He knows the people around him. He knows the land beneath his feet. There is comfort in familiarity. The sun rises. Warm light spreads slowly across the countryside. Mist begins to dissolve. Trees emerge more clearly from the morning haze. A distant church tower catches the first golden rays. The village awakens. Smoke rises from chimneys. Doors open. Voices drift through the cool air. Another day begins. And another. And another. The repetition is not monotonous. Instead, it creates rhythm, like the steady movement of waves upon a shoreline, or the changing phases of the moon. The farmer's life follows patterns established long before he was born, patterns that will likely continue long after he is gone. There is something reassuring about belonging to such a cycle. Throughout our journey, we have followed the farmer through fields and forests, through seasons of growth and seasons of hardship. We have sat beside hearth fires, walked village roads, visited markets, observed celebrations, witnessed ordinary work. And through it all, one truth remains constant. The medieval farmer lives close to the land, closer than most modern people can easily imagine. Every season matters. Every change in weather matters. Every harvest matters. The relationship between people and nature remains immediate, direct, personal. A strong harvest brings relief. A poor harvest brings concern. The natural world is not something observed from a distance. It is a daily companion. As the morning continues, birds move through hedgerows searching for food. A gentle breeze ripples through growing grain. The farmer pauses briefly to look across the landscape. Perhaps he does not think of history. Perhaps he does not think of future centuries. Why would he? His attention belongs to the present, the work awaiting completion, the responsibilities of today. Yet from our perspective, looking backward across time, his ordinary life becomes something extraordinary, because it reveals how millions of people lived, how communities functioned, how knowledge survived, how societies sustained themselves. History is not only the story of rulers and battles. It is also the story of ordinary mornings, ordinary fields, ordinary families. The farmer represents countless individuals whose names have been forgotten but whose labor shaped the world. Without them, there would be no towns, no cities, no kingdoms, no history as we know it. Their contribution was quiet, yet essential. The day moves onward. Afternoon arrives. Then evening, just as it always does. The sun descends slowly toward the horizon. Long shadows stretch across the fields. The golden light of late day transforms the landscape. Trees glow softly. Stone walls catch warm colors. The roofs of village homes shine briefly before darkness returns. The farmer walks home once more. The familiar path requires no thought. Every turn is known. Every landmark familiar. There is comfort in returning. Comfort in routine. Comfort in knowing that loved ones wait nearby. Inside the farmhouse, warmth gathers around the hearth. The evening meal is shared. Stories are exchanged. Laughter occasionally rises from the room. Nothing remarkable occurs. And yet everything remarkable occurs. Because this is life. Not the rare moments remembered for centuries, but the ordinary moments experienced day after day. The moments that truly define human existence. Eventually, the fire burns lower. The conversation fades. The house grows quiet. Outside, the stars return. One by one. Then hundreds. Then thousands. The countryside settles into sleep. Fields rest beneath moonlight. Animals grow still. The roads become empty. Only the occasional sound of wind moves through the darkness. And somewhere within that peaceful village, the farmer sleeps. Tomorrow another day will begin. Another sunrise. Another walk to the fields. Another series of tasks. Another evening beside the fire. The cycle continues. Steady. Reliable. Enduring. As we near the conclusion of this long and gentle journey, we can allow the pace to become softer still. The countryside grows quieter. The stars shine overhead. The sounds of the village fade into the distance. And the medieval world settles around us, with the calm certainty of another day ending exactly as countless days have ended before. The fields remain. The seasons remain. The rhythms remain. And beneath the vast night sky, history continues its slow and patient journey through time. The night is peaceful now. The fields are quiet. The roads lie empty beneath the moonlight. The village rests. And for a little while longer, we remain here among the familiar landscapes of the medieval countryside. There is no need to hurry. No need to rush toward the ending. The farmer's world has always moved at a slower pace. The land teaches patience. The seasons teach patience. Time itself seems to move differently here. A single day matters. A single season matters. Yet life is often measured in years rather than hours. In harvests rather than deadlines. In generations rather than moments. Imagine the countryside many years after the farmer we have followed throughout this story has grown old. The village remains. Children have become adults. Adults have become elders. New families occupy familiar homes. The fields continue producing grain. The church bell continues marking the passage of time. The same roads wind through the landscape. Some things change. Many things remain. This continuity is one of the most striking features of medieval rural life. The pace of change is often slow. So slow that a person might live an entire lifetime without witnessing dramatic transformation. Tools improve gradually. Buildings are repaired. Families grow. But the essential rhythms remain familiar. Spring planting. Summer growth. Autumn harvest. Winter rest. Again and again. Year after year. Century after century. The countryside teaches a different understanding of time. One rooted in repetition rather than constant novelty. A farmer standing in a field understands something that modern life sometimes obscures. Not everything must change quickly. Some things improve through consistency, through patience, through careful attention repeated over long periods. A tree grows this way. A community grows this way. Knowledge grows this way. The farmer's life reflects these principles. Every season builds upon the last. Every lesson adds to previous experience. Every generation contributes something to the future. As moonlight spreads across the fields, the landscape appears almost timeless. The boundaries between centuries seem less important. The same moon has illuminated Roman roads, medieval villages, Renaissance towns, modern cities. Human lives pass beneath it. The natural world continues. This realization might have felt familiar to the farmer. Not in academic terms, not as a historical observation, but as a simple awareness gained from living close to nature. The stars return every night. The seasons return every year. The land continues producing life. There is comfort in these patterns, comfort that becomes especially valuable during uncertain times. Many of the challenges we discussed earlier, storms, illness, poor harvests, harsh winters, are temporary. Difficult while they last, yet temporary. The seasons continue moving forward. Spring eventually follows winter. Growth eventually follows hardship. The farmer has seen this cycle many times. Experience teaches trust in the return of familiar rhythms, even after difficult years. Perhaps that is one reason rural communities often display remarkable resilience. People learn to think long-term. A poor season matters, but it is not the entire story. There will be another season, another opportunity, another harvest. This perspective encourages perseverance. The farmer understands that success rarely depends upon a single day. Instead, it emerges through steady effort sustained across many years. Tonight, as the village sleeps, there is a sense of continuity stretching outward in every direction. Backward toward countless generations who worked these fields before. Forward toward generations not yet born. The farmer occupies only one place within that chain. Yet every link matters. Every person contributes something. Knowledge, labor, traditions, stories, care for the land, care for family. These contributions accumulate over time. They create communities capable of enduring across centuries. Inside the farmhouse, the fire has faded into glowing embers. The room is warm, quiet, peaceful. The tools used during the day rest against the wall. Tomorrow they will be needed again. For now they remain still. Everything rests. The animals, the fields, the people, even the village itself seems to be sleeping. If we listen carefully, we can almost hear the silence. Not complete silence. The countryside is never completely silent. A distant owl calls from the darkness. Wind moves softly through trees. Perhaps a horse shifts within a nearby shelter. Small sounds, gentle sounds, the sounds of a world at rest. And as we sit quietly within this landscape, it becomes easier to appreciate something important. The medieval farmer's life is not defined solely by labor, nor solely by hardship, nor solely by tradition. It is defined by balance, work and rest, community and solitude, responsibility and celebration, change and continuity. The rhythms of life create meaning. The routines create stability. The relationships create belonging. In many ways, these experiences remain familiar even today. The details have changed. Technology has changed. Society has changed. Yet many of the underlying desires remain recognizable. To provide for family, to find purpose in daily work, to belong to a community, to leave something valuable for future generations. The farmer shares these hopes with people across every era. That common humanity is part of what makes history feel alive. It reminds us that the past was inhabited by real people. People with concerns, dreams, responsibilities, and ordinary days. As midnight approaches and the countryside settles into even deeper stillness, our journey also begins approaching its final resting place. Soon we will leave the medieval village behind. The fields will fade into darkness. The church bell will grow silent. The roads will disappear into the distance. But before we do, there is one final chapter waiting. A quiet conclusion. A gentle farewell to the farmer, the village, and the slow-moving world we have explored together. For now, though, we remain here beneath the stars a little longer, listening to the wind, watching moonlight rest upon sleeping fields, and allowing the peaceful rhythms of the medieval countryside to carry us softly onward. Tonight, our long journey through the medieval countryside finally begins to draw to a close. The village is quiet. The fields rest beneath the stars. The roads that once carried merchants, pilgrims, and travelers have disappeared into darkness. The church bell is silent. The hearth fires burn low. And the farmer, whose ordinary life has guided us through centuries of history, sleeps peacefully beneath the same night sky that stretches above us now. We have followed him through many seasons. We have watched spring return to frozen fields. We have stood beside growing crops during the warmth of summer. We have walked through harvests glowing beneath autumn sunlight. We have listened to winter winds brushing against farmhouse walls. We have shared ordinary days, ordinary meals, ordinary conversations. And in doing so, we have discovered something remarkable. The ordinary is often where history truly lives. History is sometimes imagined as a collection of dramatic events. Battles, kings, wars, treaties, great discoveries. And certainly those things matter. But beneath every famous event lies another story. The story of everyday people. People who planted fields, raised children, built homes, shared meals, maintained communities, and quietly carried society forward. The medieval farmer was one of those people. His life may never have been recorded in detail. No chronicler may have written his name. No monument may have been raised in his honor. Yet his work mattered deeply. The food that sustained towns and cities began in fields like his. The traditions passed through generations survived in villages like his. The communities that formed the foundation of medieval society depended upon people like him. And perhaps that is one of the most valuable lessons history can offer. That significance is not always measured by fame. Many of the most important contributions happen quietly. A parent teaching a child, a neighbor helping another family, a farmer preparing land for the next season, a community preserving knowledge across generations. These actions rarely attract attention, yet they shape the world. As we sit together in this peaceful countryside, the pace of our story slows even further. There is no work waiting now, no harvest approaching, no storm gathering on the horizon. Only stillness, the kind of stillness that arrives late at night when the world seems content to rest. Imagine looking out across the fields one final time. Moonlight settles gently upon the landscape. The outlines of distant trees appear against the sky. A soft breeze moves through tall grass. Everything feels calm, timeless. The farmer's house stands quietly nearby. Within its walls sleep generations connected by family, memory, and shared experience. The tools rest. The animals rest. The land itself seems to rest. Tomorrow will come, but not yet. For now, the countryside belongs to the night. The stars overhead shine with extraordinary clarity. The same stars that medieval farmers watched after long days of labor. The same stars that guided travelers along dark roads. The same stars that have looked down upon every generation throughout human history. They connect past and present in a way that feels strangely comforting. Centuries separate us from the medieval world. Yet when we look up at the night sky, we see much of what they saw. The distance between eras feels smaller. The connection feels stronger. The farmer never knew the future that awaited beyond his lifetime. He could not imagine modern cities, modern technology, modern transportation, the countless changes still to come. And yet, despite those differences, many parts of his life remain understandable. The satisfaction of meaningful work, the comfort of family, the importance of community, the beauty of a peaceful evening, the hope carried into a new day. These experiences transcend centuries. They belong to humanity itself. The night grows deeper, the village quieter. Even the wind seems softer now. Our journey has carried us through fields and forests, through markets and churches, through seasons of abundance and seasons of challenge. And now it gently comes to rest. The medieval countryside fades into darkness, not disappearing entirely, simply settling into sleep. The farmer sleeps. The village sleeps. The fields sleep. And perhaps, after spending so much time here, we can allow ourselves to do the same. There is nothing more that needs to be planted tonight. Nothing more that needs repairing. Nothing more that needs explaining. Only the quiet certainty that life continues. The seasons continue. The stars continue. And somewhere within the endless flow of history, countless ordinary people continue leaving their mark upon the world. So let the fields grow still. Let the church bell remain silent. Let the roads rest beneath the moonlight. And let the peaceful rhythms of medieval life drift softly into the distance. Thank you for spending this long evening among the farmers, families, villages, and landscapes of the medieval world. May the quiet countryside remain with you. May the gentle rhythm of the seasons linger in your thoughts. And may the stars above these ancient fields guide you peacefully into rest. Good night.